Chapter 10:14. Can't wait, don't worry, Lin Yi. Shu and I know what's important. Meng Yao nodded solemnly. Plus, Shu and I promise that we won't be hostile towards Xiao Xiao anymore. You can bring her to the villa as a guest. Huh, that's not necessary. Don't change your attitude towards her all of a sudden. There needs to be a process. Lin Yi shook his head. Xiao Xiao isn't stupid. If you guys suddenly change your attitude 180 degrees, do you think she wouldn't be suspicious? That's true. Meng Yao nodded. Then how should we cooperate? Meng Yao was a sensible person, and after hearing about Xiao Xiao's situation, she sympathized with her. If there was anything she could do for her, she would be more than happy to do it. But her personality made it so that even though she wanted to help, her tone was still very calm. Don't try to get close to her, just let nature take its course. Lin Yi didn't know what to do, and he could only take it one step at a time. At least if Shu and Yao were hostile towards Xiao Xiao, then there wouldn't be many conflicts in the future. Oh, leave it to me. Yu Shu, on the other hand, patted her chest confidently. I'll keep arguing with her, and then we'll get to know each other better, and we'll become good friends. Lin Yi's eyes twitched. He was really afraid that Yu Shu would use too much force and break her chest, but Lin Yi couldn't help but admire Yu Shu's idea. It was the most feasible one. Haha, Shu, I'll be troubling you then. Lin Yi nodded. Oh, I love helping Shield Bro, but after Xiao Xiao leaves, you have to make it up to Shu. Yu Shu said. Lin Yi's forehead darkened. Shu seemed to be waiting for Xiao Xiao to die, but Lin Yi knew that Yu Shu didn't have any bad intentions. Standing up, Lin Yi said, I'll go see Faubert. You guys keep watching TV, but you can discuss the specifics with Yin. Yes. Meng Yao was interested in interacting with Tang Yun, so she nodded naturally after Lin Yi said it. Lin Yi got up and walked into Faubert's room. Faubert had been living in the villa for the past 2 days. It was also convenient for Lin Yi to heal him. When Faubert saw Lin Yi walk in, he quickly stood up. Towards Lin Yi, Faubert didn't dare to neglect. His respect for Lin Yi came from the heart. Lin Yi could be said to be his savior. If it weren't for Lin Yi, his meridians wouldn't have been repaired. It could be said that Lin Yi's kindness to Faubert could be said to be like a second parent. Faubert treated Chu Pengzhan with the respect of an old friend, but towards Meng Yao, it was more of a love from the heart. The pain of losing his wife and daughter made Faubert treat Meng Yao, who he watched grow up, like his own daughter. Little Yi, you're back. Although Faubert called Lin Yi Little Yi, it was also because of Lin Yi's strong request, but his words were filled with respect. Faubert, what do you think? Lin Yi nodded and walked into the room. As for Faubert's attitude, Lin Yi raised it twice, but Faubert was still like this. Lin Yi couldn't do anything about it. After all, Lin Yi knew that his treatment of Faubert in the Wulin world was equivalent to giving him a new lease of life. Not bad, just one more meridian. I should be able to recover by tonight, Faubert said. All right, then I'll do it today and fix your meridian. Lin Yi was also a little impatient. After all, the strength of an Earth class was not to be underestimated. If Faubert really recovered his strength, then Lin Yi would have a super helper. House you, Xiao family's threats would no longer exist. Thank you. Faubert nodded and sat on the bed, waiting for Lin Yi to come over and transfer the pure energy into his body. General Wei Wu. Lin Yi called General Wei Wu. General Wei Wu obediently ran to Faubert's room and squatted there, ready to protect Lin Yi and Faubert. These days, General Wei Wu was used to protecting Lin Yi and Faubert. Woof woof. General Wei Wu barked at Lin Yi, as if telling Lin Yi that it was ready. Lin Yi nodded and sat beside Faubert. He activated the art of Dragon Mastery and started using the energy in his body to repair Faubert's damaged meridian. After a few days of hard work, Lin Yi had repaired most of the damaged meridian in Faubert's body. Today was the last one. Lin Yi's energy quickly flowed into Faubert's body. Faubert's meridian was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Faubert couldn't help but moan in comfort. The pure energy that Lin Yi transferred to him was quickly absorbed by him. Before this, Faubert didn't believe that Lin Yi's pure energy could really be used by him without any side effects. However, after a few days, it was proven that Lin Yi's pure energy was really effective on him. It could be said that Lin Yi was very familiar with healing people. After about 15 minutes, the last damaged meridian in Faubert's body was completely repaired by Lin Yi. Now, Faubert was a person who could practice internal martial arts. Although there wasn't a trace of pure energy in Faubert's meridian, Lin Yi could feel the thickness of Faubert's meridian. If there was enough energy transferred to Faubert's meridian, he could immediately recover to become an Earth rank expert. This was the same situation when he dropped a level. It was similar to when he was in an online game. His level was still there, but he didn't have any experience points. This way, there was an advantage. As long as there was enough energy, he could once again become an Earth rank expert without any effort. This way, he wouldn't have to break through the bottleneck every time he cultivated. Lin Yi repaired the last meridian in Faubert's body. His heart suddenly surged with a fanatical impulse. That was, he couldn't wait to restore Faubert to an Earth rank expert. Previously, when he was repairing meridian, Lin Yi was still able to restrain himself. Every day, he used a part of his energy to heal Faubert. But now that Faubert's meridian was completely repaired, Lin Yi really couldn't wait. Today is the day. Under the impulse, Lin Yi gritted his teeth. He decided that today, he would continuously transfer energy to Faubert's body. Time waited for no man. Xie Yufeng's sudden appearance today made Lin Yi feel a sense of danger. Chapter 10:15. Master Training Plan. So Lin Yi felt a sense of pressure. He wanted to have a master by his side so that he wouldn't be afraid of those hidden threats. The reason why Lin Yi chose to restore Faubert's strength today was because of Xie Yufeng's strange actions today. Since he didn't want to expose his strength in front of him, then there shouldn't be any conflict between them for a while. So, Lin Yi wanted to build Faubert before Xie Yufeng exposed his strength. After all, he was still safe during this period of time. He didn't need to worry about Xie Yufeng coming to kill him. With that thought, Lin Yi didn't stop transferring energy into Faubert's body. Instead, he waited for Faubert's meridians to recover before he continued using the art of dragon mastery, transferring energy into Faubert's body continuously. Faubert felt that his meridians were healed. He wanted to shout in joy and get up to move his body to feel the feeling of a spiritual master when he realized that Lin Yi's qi was still flowing into his body. Lin Yi, you. Faubert's eyes widened as he looked at Lin Yi. Lin Yi only smiled and didn't answer. He was still focused on transferring energy into Faubert's body. Faubert's heart skipped a beat. He understood a little. Lin Yi actually wanted to use the pure energy in his body to forcefully forge himself into a master. Uncle Fu had experienced this kind of situation before. The true qi that his wife cultivated could not only be used for healing, but it could also be used by him to increase his strength. However, every time his wife painstakingly cultivated a year's worth of vital energy into his body, it could only help him increase his strength by a small amount. Luckily, after his wife started training, the only thing she could do was help him train. So, Faubert didn't feel too guilty. After all, this was House Sun's method. But Lin Yi was different. Lin Yi wasn't related to him at all. Healing him and repairing his meridians was already giving him a new lease of life. It used up a lot of Lin Yi's qi. Now that Lin Yi wanted to forcefully transfer his qi into his body, how could Faubert not be excited? And Faubert also realized that Lin Yi's qi could really be used by him. As Lin Yi's qi flowed into his body, Faubert could feel his strength recovering bit by bit. This was the same as when he had just started cultivating internal martial arts. This made him feel like he was cultivating all over again. Looking at Lin Yi's smile, Faubert knew that Lin Yi had made up his mind. Although Lin Yi wasn't old, it was rare for him to change his mind when he was determined to do something. Although Faubert was embarrassed to accept Lin Yi's qi, he was afraid that interrupting Lin Yi at this moment would put him in more danger. Thinking of this, Faubert felt that he couldn't disappoint Lin Yi's kindness. He quickly circulated his sect's mantra and mobilized the qi that Lin Yi transferred to him. He coordinated it with Lin Yi's circulation in his body. However, as soon as Uncle Fu revolved his mental cultivation method, the speed at which his body absorbed energy suddenly sped up. Any internal martial arts purpose was to absorb the qi of heaven and earth for one's own use. Therefore, After Faubert circulated his mantra, he was also absorbing qi. However, what he was absorbing was the qi that Lin Yi transferred to him. Lin Yi suddenly felt that Faubert's absorption speed had increased. However, Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He knew that Faubert was cooperating with him. Lin Yi didn't have the slightest intention to stop. The faster Faubert absorbed, the happier Lin Yi was. Although Lin Yi was struggling, after all, if the speed was fast, Lin Yi could quickly enter the space of the jade pendant to restore his strength after transforming Faubert. If possible, one night would be enough. The next morning, Lin Yi could restore his previous strength. Time passed minute by minute, second by second. Lin Yi was constantly transferring qi, and Faubert was constantly absorbing qi. Both of them were like old monks in meditation. Neither of them spoke, but the expression on their faces became more and more serious. Faubert felt that he was about to enter the golden class. This made him pleasantly surprised, and he didn't dare to believe it. One had to know that to forcibly transform a person without any strength into a golden class master, how much qi was needed. So much pure qi. All of it was painstakingly cultivated, and Lin Yi actually gave it to him for free. While Faubert was touched, he secretly swore in his heart that he must repay Lin Yi in the future. This debt of gratitude was simply too great. Lin Yi seemed to feel the growth of Faubert's strength, and a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He was about to break through. Faubert felt that he had touched the door of the golden class. This made Faubert's thoughts involuntarily go back to the time when he first broke through to the golden class. How excited was he? Boom! This time, Faubert broke through to the golden class without any pressure. His body only trembled slightly, and he smoothly went through the transition from a normal fighter to a golden class master. Faubert's face suddenly showed a happy smile. How did he become a golden class spiritual master so easily? Isn't this too fast? However, after Faubert broke through to the golden class, Lin Yi clearly felt that Faubert's body was absorbing energy at a faster speed, and he was even a little overwhelmed. After checking the remaining energy in his body, Lin Yi slightly frowned. When he repaired Faubert's meridians, he already used up about a third of his energy. Now that he helped Faubert break through to the golden class, there was not much energy left in Lin Yi's body. He was about to reach the critical point. What should he do? Should he give up? Lin Yi was not willing to give up. He wanted to finish building this Master Faubert in one go. Success or failure depended on this one move. However, without energy in his body, how could he continue? That's right. Suddenly, Lin Yi suddenly remembered the process of transferring energy to General Weiwu. After he entered the space of the jade, as long as his body in the outside world maintained the state of energy transfer with Faubert, he could use the art of dragon mastery in the space of the jade to not only absorb energy, but also transfer it directly to Faubert. He was so stupid. Lin Yi almost slapped his forehead and scolded himself for being stupid. Lin Yi quickly closed his eyes and entered the space of the jade. This was because the energy in his body was almost completely depleted. After entering the space of the jade, Lin Yi didn't care about the conversation with Jiao Lao and continued to quickly use the art of dragon mastery. As the energy in the space of the jade flowed into Lin Yi's body, it continuously flowed into Faubert's body. Chapter 10:16. Still puzzled at this moment, Lin Yi's body was like a transfer station, transferring the energy in the jade space to Faubert's body. However, although Lin Yi absorbed the energy very quickly, the energy didn't stay in Lin Yi's body at all. Instead, it flowed into Faubert's body continuously. Faubert's body was like a bottomless pit, constantly swallowing the energy that Lin Yi sent over. Of course, Lin Yi wasn't surprised. Back then, General Weiwu already needed a lot of energy, let alone a grown man like Faubert. Although Faubert's face was filled with surprise, it didn't take long for it to turn into shock. He originally thought that after Lin Yi sent some energy to his body as a foundation, it would stop. After all, there was a saying that the master led the way. The cultivation was up to the individual. Faubert planned to rely on himself in the future. He didn't expect Lin Yi to be able to send him endless energy. However, the current situation seemed to be different from what he imagined. Because Lin Yi's energy was still being sent over, there was no sign of it stopping. This made Faubert very surprised. Could Lin Yi hold on? Because Faubert felt that he was about to touch the barrier of the early phase of the golden class. This speed of leveling up was probably the first in history, right? Except for General Weiwu. Thinking of General Weiwu, Faubert really admired Chu Pengzhan a little. Where did Mr. Chu find such a ruthless person like Lin Yi? He was too fierce. He could create a master just by sitting at home. Although Faubert didn't know who Lin Yi was and which super force or sect he came from, he could tell that it wasn't simple from the fact that he could create a master just by sitting at home. At least, Lin Yi's background shouldn't be any weaker than his own sect, maybe even stronger. Thinking of this, Faubert's eyes became fiery. If he wanted to take revenge, it was not impossible. It was just that Lin Yi probably wouldn't intervene. When the time came, he would have to work hard on his own. Boom! Without any warning, Faubert broke through again. From the peak of the early phase of the golden class to the middle phase of the golden class. This kind of leveling speed, Faubert could not help but secretly click his tongue. It was too fast. Back then, it took him a few years to go from the early phase of the golden class to the middle phase of the golden class. But how long had it been? Only 3 hours, right? He went from a normal person to a master of the middle phase of the golden class. Faubert couldn't help but feel sorrowful when he thought of those people who cultivated bitterly, or even those who cultivated for their entire lives, but still couldn't improve their strength. Comparing oneself to others was really a case of death. For some people, not to mention the early phase of the golden class to the middle phase of the golden class, they had to go through a very difficult process to get from the early phase of the golden class to the early phase of the golden class. However, within a few hours, Faubert broke through without any pressure. Faubert reaching the middle phase of the golden class caused Lin Yi a lot of trouble. The energy Faubert needed to level up was obviously much more than General Weiwu. Therefore, Lin Yi felt like his body was like a sieve. The energy rushed through his body without stopping at all, causing Lin Yi's meridians to be filled with a large amount of energy. But in order for Lin Yi to create an Earth-class master, Lin Yi endured it. Once this thing was successful, it would be a historical breakthrough. Perhaps no one would have thought that he would create an Earth-class master's trump card, right? Thinking about it made Lin Yi extremely excited. As time went by, the energy Faubert absorbed in his body kept increasing. Another few hours passed, and Faubert's strength rose from the middle phase of the golden class to the peak of the middle phase of the golden class. Then, it was imaginable that he would have another breakthrough. When the sky outside started to brighten, Faubert already had the strength of the late phase of the golden class. Just a few days ago, Faubert was depressed and thought that he was crippled. The physical strength of the late phase of the golden class that he painstakingly cultivated was gone just like that. But now, not only was he about to have the strength of the late phase of the golden class again, but his spiritual strength was even better than his physical strength. While Faubert was enjoying the feeling of leveling up, Lin Yi wasn't having it so good. After all, a large amount of energy passed through Lin Yi's body, making Lin Yi feel like he was struggling to hold on. Continue. He had to continue. Lin Yi gritted his teeth and continued to silently circulate the art of dragon mastery, so that the energy in his body continued to be transferred to Faubert's body. Finally, Faubert's strength was advancing towards the peak of the late phase of the golden class. Lin Yi's lips curved into a smile. He was about to complete a big leap, and this made Lin Yi inexplicably excited. Lin Yi could clearly feel the change in Faubert's strength level, so as Faubert's strength increased, Lin Yi's heart was also extremely excited. The time to witness a miracle was coming. Under the strong transfer of energy from Lin Yi, Faubert's strength finally broke through to the peak of the late phase of the golden class. A hint of joy appeared on Lin Yi's face. It had only been a few hours, and Faubert had already turned from a normal person to a peak of the late phase of the golden class. It was even faster than taking a plane. It seemed like he had to work harder. Faubert was about to become a mystic class master. The peak of the late phase of the golden class was only one step away from the early phase of the mystic class. Thinking of this, Lin Yi worked even harder to circulate the art of dragon mastery, so that the energy quickly poured into Falbert's body. But then, a strange thing happened. The energy that Lin Yi sent into Falbert's body stopped abruptly, as if he was filling up the gas tank of a car, and suddenly it was full. Although Lin Yi's art of dragon mastery didn't stop, the energy could no longer pass through his body to Falbert's body, and it was absorbed by Lin Yi's own body. What was going on? Lin Yi couldn't help but frown. He could be sure that his hand was still on Falbert's body. Logically speaking, this kind of situation shouldn't happen, but it just happened. Lin Yi stopped circulating the art of dragon mastery, and the energy in the space of the jade suddenly stopped flowing into Lin Yi's body. After resting for a while, Lin Yi circulated the art of dragon mastery again, wanting to let the energy pass through his body to Falbert, but Lin Yi helplessly found that the energy was still being absorbed into his body and not transferred to Falbert. Chapter 10:17. Within reason, Falbert felt the energy in his body stop flowing, but he saw that Lin Yi didn't open his eyes. He didn't know what Lin Yi was doing, and he didn't dare disturb himself. He had a lot of things he wanted to say, but he could only hold it in for now. But seeing that Lin Yi finally opened his eyes, Falbert quickly said, "Lin Yi, you've given me so much of your energy, your strength. I'm fine." Lin Yi shook his head. "I don't know what's going on, but I'm stuck at the peak late phase of the golden class. I can't give you any more energy." Haha, peak late phase of the golden class, that's the same as my physical strength before I got injured. I'm already very satisfied with this. It doesn't matter if I can't increase it any further. At least I can continue practicing. This is much better than what I expected," Falbert said with gratitude and sincerity. "Lin Yi, thank you so much. But you're clearly an Earth class. I want you to become an Earth class, peak late phase of the golden class. That's not the end." Lin Yi waved his hand and smiled at Falbert's gratitude, but he was still a little confused. Falbert almost froze after hearing Lin Yi's words. Wasn't Lin Yi a little too daring? Earth class? Lin Yi wanted to restore himself to an Earth class? This was something Falbert didn't even dare to think about. Lin Yi was actually this crazy. What's wrong? Falbert's scream pulled Lin Yi back to reality. "It's nothing." Falbert shook his head. "Lin Yi, you're really daring, aren't you? An Earth class. How can you create one so easily? You gave me all your pure chi. What are you going to do? Even if you give them all to me, you're only a mystic mid-phase. How can you create an Earth class?" "My strength." Lin Yi smiled bitterly. His situation was rather special. It was really difficult to explain it to Falbert. The energy in his body was not his own, but from the space of the jade pendant. The energy there was endless. Not to mention one Earth-ranked expert. Even 10 Earth-ranked experts would be enough. But Lin Yi couldn't figure out why he was stuck at the peak of the late phase of the golden class when he was transferring energy to Falbert. It wasn't easy for me to become a peak late phase golden class master. I'm already very satisfied. When Falbert saw that Lin Yi had gone through so much trouble, he couldn't help but feel even more grateful. After all, I used to specialize in internal martial arts. I can continue to cultivate on my own. I was able to break through to Earth class before, so it's not impossible now. Lin Yi sighed. Falbert was right, but Lin Yi couldn't wait to have an Earth class as his bodyguard. Falbert's stagnation made Lin Yi feel a little dissatisfied. After all, the strength that was within his reach was stagnant for no reason. How could Lin Yi not be disappointed? Especially when all the conditions were in place. Lin Yi had the energy he wanted, and it was omnipotent. He could continuously transfer it to Falbert. Why was it stuck? This was a question that Lin Yi couldn't answer no matter how hard he thought about it. "Falbert, how did you feel when the chi stopped?" Lin Yi hesitated and asked. Falbert sighed and raised his head to speak to Lin Yi. "I didn't feel anything special. I just felt that the chi from your side suddenly stopped. That?" Lin Yi smiled bitterly. What Falbert said was basically the same as not saying anything. Lin Yi still couldn't figure out what the problem was. "Don't worry about me, your own strength." Falbert looked at Lin Yi worriedly. "You seem to have dropped a level?" I'm fine. Could it be?" Lin Yi was suddenly startled. Was it because he didn't have any energy in his body? Just relying on the energy from the jade wasn't enough for Falbert to break through? Did he need the energy in his body to assist him? Although this guess was a bit far-fetched, Lin Yi could only think of this possibility, because other than this, he couldn't think of any other problems. It was as if everything was ready and only the east wind was missing. This made Lin Yi take action immediately. Faubert, I'm going to rest for a while. I need to recover my strength. You should adjust yourself first. Lin Yi didn't say much. He needed to recover his strength as soon as possible. Only then would he know if it was because he didn't have any energy in his body that caused Faubert to be unable to break through. Okay, Lily, go get some rest. Uncle Fu nodded and said quickly. Lin Yi didn't say much. He turned around and left Faubert's room, walking quickly to his own room. Miss and Shu had already gone to bed. Every night, Lin Yi went to heal Faubert, so they weren't surprised. After Lin Yi returned to his room, he quickly entered the jade space and used all the time he had to recover the lost energy in his body. It was already morning outside. Lin Yi had to make use of every minute and second to train. In the blink of an eye, the sun was high in the sky. It was already noon. Faubert sent Mengyao and Yushu to school. Although they were surprised that Lin Yi didn't wake up, Faubert told them that Lin Yi had used up a lot of energy to heal him, so he needed to rest. So Mengyao and Yushu didn't ask any more questions after hearing it. After Faubert sent them to school, he rushed home. He was worried about leaving Lin Yi alone at home. Although General Weiwu was guarding, Faubert had to be by his side to be at ease. The door to Lin Yi's room opened, and Lin Yi walked out of the room. On the sofa, Faubert, who was waiting anxiously, heard the sound and quickly stood up. He looked at Lin Yi and asked quickly, how are you? I'm fine. My strength has recovered. Lin Yi couldn't help but feel a little regretful. After recovering his strength this time, he was still in the middle phase of mystic division. It seemed that not every loss of energy could bring about an increase in strength. The reason why his strength had increased a few times before was because he had been cultivating for a period of time. The energy in his body had almost accumulated, and he had already reached the barrier to the next level. Therefore, after he lost the energy, he once again absorbed the energy in one go and broke through the barrier, causing an instant breakthrough. Chapter 10:18. A helpless result, but even so, Lin Yi was still a little disappointed. Before, Lin Yi even wanted to transfer the energy out and cultivate it back so that he could level up quickly. But now, it seemed like that idea was really stupid. Breaking and building, for Lin Yi, was indeed a support for leveling up, but it was only a support. If he didn't reach the next level, he wouldn't be able to level up even if he used the energy to recover 100 times. This kind of opportunism was not a good idea. Thinking about it, Lin Yi found it laughable. This idea was too stupid. If it really worked, then wouldn't he be able to level up to Sky Class in no time? Even Sky Class wouldn't be that easy to reach. Recovered, Uncle Fu sucked in a breath of cold air. Faubert knew exactly how much pure qi Lin Yi transferred to him. Not only did it repair his meridians, but it also turned him from a normal person to a peak late-phase golden class master. How much energy did that take? Even if Lin Yi didn't drop to Mystic Class, he would still be extremely weak. But Lin Yi recovered so quickly? But thinking about how shocking Lin Yi was before, Faubert could only smile bitterly. Lin Yi wasn't someone that could be judged by common sense. Faubert, now that my strength has recovered, let's do another experiment and see if it can help you break through again. Lin Yi said, Experiment again? You've just recovered your strength? Is that okay? Faubert looked at Lin Yi in surprise. He didn't think that he'd just recovered his strength, and now he was going to help him recover. We have to try it. Lin Yi nodded firmly. He didn't have the habit of giving up halfway, so once he decided on something, he had to do it. Oh, okay then. Faubert saw how determined Lin Yi was and nodded. It seems like I have no choice but to agree. Then I'll have to trouble you. Lin Yi shook his head and smiled. What's there to trouble? I just want to have an Earth class by my side. That way, House Yu and Xiao family won't be a threat anymore. Haha. Faubert heard Lin Yi's words and couldn't help but laugh. Yeah, if I was at my peak, what would House Yu and Xiao family amount to? They're just a common world noble house. They're nothing now. I'm just worried about the hidden house behind House Yu, Lin Yi said. Hidden house, yes. Although Uncle Fu didn't say anything, His words still carried a hint of pride. When Uncle Fu was young, he must have been someone who could stand shoulder to shoulder with a hidden house, right? Linny put his hand on Uncle Fu's shoulder again and said in a low voice, Uncle Fu, it's about to start. Please get ready. Faubert, it's about to begin. Please get ready. Faubert's smile disappeared and was replaced with a serious expression. He didn't want Linny to waste more chi for him, but he was looking forward to breaking through again. Lin Yi activated the art of dragon mastery, preparing to transfer the energy in his body to Faubert's body. However, something strange happened again. The chi circulated in Lin Yi's body, but it didn't go to Faubert's body at all. Faubert, have you started your own chant? Lin Yi was startled and asked. Yes, I'm doing it now. Faubert nodded. It hasn't started yet? Let me try again. Lin Yi frowned and continued to activate the art of dragon mastery. However, the situation was still the same. His chi couldn't be transferred to Faubert through his hands. It was as if Faubert didn't need his chi at all and couldn't get it from his body. This was exactly the same situation as yesterday. Lin Yi's chi couldn't be used by Faubert. Half an hour passed. Although Lin Yi's chi hadn't been consumed at all, he was so tired that his face was flushed and he was sweating profusely. Faubert wasn't relaxed either. Because of his cultivation and anxiety, he was also sweating profusely. Sigh. Lin Yi let out a long breath unwillingly, but at this moment, he had to give up. He had no way to transfer chi to Faubert's body. If you can't do it, just give up. I can cultivate by myself. It's not a problem. Faubert saw how tired Lin Yi was and quickly said, But Lin Yi wasn't willing. He really wasn't willing. Is it because Faubert's cultivation technique is different from mine? But even if it's different, isn't my cultivation technique omnipotent? Why does it suddenly not work? Lin Yi stood up and wanted to move his numb body. He accidentally saw General Weiwu. Lin Yi's expression changed slightly, and he called General Weiwu. General Weiwu, come here. Woof woof. Ever since General Weiwu was made into a master by Lin Yi, it was extremely close to Lin Yi. When Lin Yi called for it, it ran over happily and jumped into Lin Yi's arms. Lin Yi thought that if Faubert's cultivation technique was different from his, then he and General Weiwu would be considered as the dog of the same master. So Lin Yi wanted to try and see if he could increase General Weiwu's strength. Lin Yi hugged General Weiwu and activated the art of dragon mastery. However, what disappointed Lin Yi was that only a small amount of energy entered General Weiwu's body. What happened next was exactly the same as Faubert's situation. The energy transfer stopped abruptly. Lin Yi couldn't transfer any more energy into General Weiwu's body. General Weiwu was a dog with the strength of the peak of the late phase of the golden class. The little bit of energy that was transferred was probably only enough to make up for General Weiwu's energy consumption. When General Weiwu fought against Ubaid, it probably used up some of its energy. However, General Weiwu didn't know how to cultivate and recover on its own, so it used up all its energy. It could only rely on Lin Yi to replenish its energy. However, after replenishing its energy, it was impossible to transfer more energy into General Weiwu. Lin Yi couldn't help but fall into deep thought again. It was the same for General Weiwu. It couldn't break through anymore. What was the reason? Lin Yi, the strength of the peak of the late phase of the golden class is not bad. Seeing the disappointment on Lin Yi's face, Faubert quickly comforted him. Hee, I know. Lin Yi sighed and said, Faubert, go do what you need to do. I'm going to school now. Since it had come to this, Lin Yi could only give up. It seemed like he was too naive. He thought that his energy was omnipotent, and he could mass-produce masters. Chapter 10:19. Zhao Lao's explanation. Although being at the peak of the late phase of the golden class was already a very powerful existence in the mortal world, it was almost like a phoenix feather. But it was useless to Lin Yi now. Lin Yi's enemies were all from the noble houses and not the mortal world. They were all mystic class masters. Faubert and General Weiwu couldn't help him either. Whatever, it seemed like trickery wasn't a good idea. He still had to rely on himself. Faubert saw that Lin Yi was shaking his head and sighing. He knew that he must be very disappointed, so he didn't say much and just sighed. Xiao Yi, I'll go to Mr. Chu's company. You drive to school yourself? I'll go myself, Lenny said. I'll go take a shower first, Faubert. You can go first. Okay. Faubert saw that Lenny had recovered his strength, so he didn't worry anymore and left the mansion. Lenny returned to his room and asked Zhao Lao in the jade space eagerly. Zhao Lao, isn't my energy omnipotent? Why can't Faubert become an Earth-class master? Why can't I increase General Wei Wu's strength? Lenny was in a rush to recover his strength, so he didn't have time to talk to Zhao Lao. Now that he failed, he wanted to ask Zhao Lao the reason. I'm not sure either. Zhao Lao's voice rang in Lin Yi's ears. I see. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Even Zhao Lao didn't know the reason? I haven't finished. Zhao Lao was obviously unhappy with Lin Yi's interruption. But I have some guesses. Zhao Lao, please speak. Lin Yi quickly asked. Although I'm not sure about your situation, I've seen something similar before. Elder Zhao said slowly. In some martial arts sects, there are some secret techniques that can be used to pass on their skills. It can also be called inheritance or empowerment. Oh, inheritance? Empowerment? Lin Yi blinked. That's right. It's when an elderly person passes on his life's cultivation to his disciple through a secret technique, allowing his disciple's strength to increase rapidly. Zhao Yazi said, however, after receiving the inheritance, the disciple will always be one level lower than the master. Only by diligently cultivating in the future will the disciple be able to reach the master's height. Oh, one level lower. Lin Yi nodded thoughtfully. Yes, if all strengths can be passed on, then their sects will be infinitely strong, and there will be countless masters. Then would other sects still need to survive? Zhao Yazi said, but even so, these sects are still very big. Zhao Lao, you mean that this is also a type of inheritance? Lin Yi nodded and asked. Should be about the same, Zhao Yazi said. It's just that after you pass on the inheritance, you can quickly recover your strength in the space of the jade, but others can't. That is indeed the case. Lin Yi's golden finger was indeed a bit overpowered. So, you are now a mystic class master, and according to the theory of inheritance, you can only pass on a master one level lower than you. The peak of the late phase of the golden class is already the limit. Zhao Yazi said. Sigh, it would have been better if I talked to you earlier, then I wouldn't have to waste my energy to experiment. Lin Yi listened to Zhao Yazi's guess and knew that it wasn't far from the truth. How do you know it won't work if you don't experiment? I saw that your experiment failed, so I came to this conclusion. Zhao Yazi laughed. Otherwise, I would have thought that you could make an Earth-class master. Yes, but if only Faubert could enter the space of the jade. Lin Yi sighed to himself. But as soon as this thought came out, Lin Yi quickly rejected it. Not to mention that he was the only one who could enter the space of the jade. Even if Faubert could enter, Lin Yi wouldn't let him. After all, this was Lin Yi's biggest trump card. Although Lin Yi felt that Faubert was trustworthy, this kind of secret should be kept to himself. One more person meant one more danger. During the experiment, Lin Yi was sweating profusely. Now that he communicated with Zhao Lao, Lin Yi completely gave up on the idea of making an Earth-class master because it was unrealistic, unless he had the strength of a Heaven-class master. But if he had the strength of a Heaven-class master, then what was the use of making an Earth-class master in batches? Lin Yi took off his clothes, turned on his phone, and went to the bathroom to take a shower. Lin Yi was afraid of being disturbed, so he turned off his phone. He didn't know if anyone contacted him. Dong Hai, Dr. Kang's house. In front of Dr. Kang's villa stood the two brothers, Xiao Ji and Xiao Bin. They were holding expensive gifts in their hands. They were here to visit Dr. Kang. After receiving the report, Dr. Kang wasn't in a hurry to let the brothers in. Instead, he called Kang Guifeng, Kang Cuepu, Kang Xiaolong, and Kang Mingming together for a family meeting. The Xiao family is most likely here for Xiaolong's marriage. Guifeng, what do you think? Dr. Kang looked at his eldest son and asked faintly, Father, from what I see, the Xiao family is like a stray dog. Uncle Pai is in a vegetative state, and the Xiao family owes Lin Yi a huge debt. The Xiao family is about to be destroyed, and we should stay away from them. Kang Guifeng voiced his opinion. As far as he was concerned, the Xiao family had lost their value. Dr. Kang nodded. In fact, this was the reason why he didn't let the Xiao family brothers enter the house. Dr. Kong had seen the Xiao family's recent misfortune. The Xiao family was done for. They didn't even look like a noble house anymore. They couldn't even compare to the rich families of other places. To put it nicely, the Xiao family was still a noble house, but anyone could see that the Xiao family would be removed from the noble house meeting soon. A family that couldn't even compare to a normal noble house, let alone a noble house. Guifeng is right, the Xiao family situation is tragic. Miracle Dr. Kong said. We wanted to use House Xiao to enter the ranks of a noble house, but they can't even protect themselves right now. Not only can they not provide us with any benefits, but if we were to marry them now, their debts and the mess they've left behind will fall on us. Suepu, what do you think? Miracle Dr. Kong shifted his gaze to his second son. Chapter 1020. House Kang's attitude towards the Xiao family ridiculous. Merge? Then are we House Kong or Xiao family? Dr. Kong waved his hand, cutting Suepu off impatiently. All right, that's enough. Xiaolong, tell us. Yes, Grandpa. Xiaolong walked up respectfully. Grandpa, second uncle's words are reasonable, but what we need to do isn't merge, we need to replace them. The Xiao family is in dire straits, and we need to make them even worse. Only when the Xiao family's title as an aristocratic family is removed will our Kong family have the chance to be promoted to a new aristocratic family. Looking at all the noble houses right now, we have the most potential. Oh, not bad. Dr. Kong couldn't help but laugh at Xiaolong's words. Ha ha ha. Xiaolong is right, the Xiao family is in dire straits, and we need to make them even worse. Only when they're in dire straits will we have a chance. Good, good, good. What a great idea. Grandpa, you're too kind. Xiaolong smiled humbly. Suepu frowned. What kind of logic was there in his words? If it weren't for Xiaolong giving him some face, he'd know that his words were bullshit. But his mind wasn't on this, and he didn't have any brains. What about Xiaoming? What do you think? Dr. Kong looked at Kong Ming Ming. Grandpa, actually, Big Brother's words make sense, but I don't think they're completely right. Kong Ming Ming felt that his father had lost face, and as a son, he should earn it back. Plus, Kong Ming wanted to leave a good impression in front of his grandpa, so he'd thought about it for a long time before saying this. Oh, tell me, what's not completely right? Dr. Kong took Kong Ming Ming's words seriously. Kong Ming may be a spoiled brat, but he was much better than his old man Suepu. Grandpa, as the saying goes, even a salted fish can still make a comeback one day. Kong Ming Ming said, although the Xiao family is down now, they are still an aristocratic family. We don't know how many connections they have. If they really make a comeback, it's hard to say. Stage a comeback? Dr. Kong shook his head. In his opinion, how could the Xiao family stage a comeback? It's more like a broken family. However, Kong Ming Ming had made a lot of contributions to the family recently, so Dr. Kong couldn't reprimand him. He just continued to ask, in your opinion, what should we do? I think the marriage with the Xiao family can't be broken, but not with Big Brother. Kong Ming Ming laughed a little embarrassedly. We can transfer the marriage to me. I'll accept that pretty girl from the Xiao family reluctantly. I'm a spoiled brat from House Kong, and the Xiao family is down now. It won't affect us if I kick her out, because I'm a spoiled brat who only plays with women. No one can say anything if I kick her out, but Big Brother won't be able to. But if they don't fall, we can still maintain our relationship. Miracle Dr. Kong fell into deep thought after hearing Xiaoming's words. Xiaolong, on the other hand, laughed heartily as he looked at Xiaoming. Lil bro, you like Wang Xinyan? Pretty girls are everywhere. No matter what, she's still your sister-in-law. It's not good for you to think like that. Kong Ming Ming did have his own selfish motives, so he blushed when he was exposed. He argued, I'm doing this for the good of House Kong. Let's do as Xiaolong says. Dr. Kong didn't say anything more about Kong Ming Ming's opinion. Xiaolong is right. People who do big things shouldn't care so much about women. Yes, Grandpa. Kong Ming Ming wasn't convinced. In fact, he really felt that way. As for getting Wang Xinyan, he had his own selfish motives. But what if the Xiao family wasn't stripped of their noble house title? House Yu had been at a disadvantage recently as well. What if House Yu decided to lay low during the noble house meeting and let the Xiao family go? Or maybe they had the same thoughts as the enemies of the Xiao family. The Xiao family was still useful to them. But Kong Mingming knew that nothing he said would change anything. He could only let his grandpa think that he was playing with Wang Xinyan. Of course, that was exactly what he was thinking. Since House Kong had decided on how to deal with the Xiao family, there was no need to hide anything. Kong Guifeng walked out of House Kang's villa and welcomed the Xiao family brothers. Xiao Ji and Xiao Bin had been waiting in front of House Kang's villa for a long time. They'd already sent someone to notify them, but after waiting for half an hour, no one from House Kong came out. "Brother, do you think House Kong won't want to see us? Damn it, what a snob. When our Xiao family was powerful, they tried so hard to get close to us, but now that something has happened to us, they treat us with this attitude." Xiao Ji was a hot-tempered man, and when he got impatient, he yelled, "How long has it been? Half an hour, right? Still no one? What kind of bullshit is House Kong playing?" Xiao Bin sighed as he looked at his raging brother. "Brother, calm down. Our Xiao family isn't in trouble right now, is it? Uncle Pai's in a vegetative state, and our Xiao family's only hope is gone. We owe Linny a huge debt, and we're in a lot of trouble right now. It's normal that House Kong doesn't want to see us." "Normal? I think it's just a shameless snob," Xiao Ji humphed. "What the hell are you talking about? Brother, someone's here. Stop arguing." Xiao Bin's eyes were sharp, and he saw the door move a little. He quickly stopped Xiao Ji from cursing anymore. In case he offended someone, Xiao Ji quickly shut his mouth when he heard that someone was here. He was just cursing a little, and he didn't dare curse anymore if someone from House Kong really came out. After all, they were here to beg for help, not the other way around. But what the Xiao family brothers didn't expect was that the person who came out was Dr. Kang's eldest son, Kong Guifeng, Xiaolong's father by marriage. Xiao Bin heaved a sigh of relief. There was still hope if someone of such importance was sent to greet the two brothers. With that thought, he quickly went over with a smile. "Kong bro, why did you come out to greet us personally?" "I'm sorry." Xiao Ji paused as well. He didn't think that Kong Guifeng would come out to greet them personally, and his anger lessened a lot. He quickly went over as well. "Kong bro." Chapter 10:21. A bad memory. Kong Guifeng's attitude took Xiao Ji and Xiao Bin by surprise. They were considered in-laws with Kong Guifeng, and even if they weren't married yet, Kong Guifeng shouldn't be this cold, should he? It was as if he didn't know them at all. "Brother Kong, what do you mean? Xiao family and House Kong are in-laws. Isn't it inappropriate for them to visit each other?" Xiao Bin pretended to be confused. "In-laws? Since when did our families become in-laws?" Kong Guifeng blinked. "I don't think so, Xiao Bin." "Xiao Bin, did you remember wrongly?" Xiao Bin was taken aback by Kong Guifeng's words as well. He didn't think that Kong Guifeng would say something like that. Wasn't he just denying it? Xiao Bin's face darkened. "Kong bro, didn't your son Xiaolong and my niece Wang Xinyan already set an engagement?" "Set an engagement? Look at my memory. Are you for real?" Guifeng, on the other hand, didn't know what was going on. He slapped his head. "I really can't remember. Can you remind me? When was the engagement ceremony, and which hotel was it held? Who attended the engagement banquet?" "Wah." Xiao Bin and Xiao Ji froze. This engagement was clearly a verbal agreement. How could there be an engagement ceremony and an engagement banquet? They hadn't even started yet. So where was the hotel or the witnesses? Xiao Bin and Xiao Ji finally understood that Kong Guifeng was doing this on purpose. He wanted to cancel the engagement. Their Xiao family was in dire straits, and Kong Guifeng probably didn't want to get married to the Xiao family anymore. That was why he was acting dumb. "Kong bro, isn't this our verbal agreement?" Xiao Bin said, suppressing his anger. He knew that he couldn't lose his temper at this time. Once he lost his temper, he wouldn't have a chance. That would be falling into the Kong family's trap. They would use his anger as an excuse to cut ties with the Kong family. "Verbal agreement?" Kong Guifeng frowned. "I don't remember anything." "You." Xiao Bin was pissed, and Xiao Ji was on the verge of going berserk. "Hey, I'm sorry. Look at my memory. I've been forgetful lately. I can't remember anything that happened before. Many scammers have come to me recently, saying that I agreed to marry them, but they can't prove it." Kong Guifeng shook his head, troubled. How about this, Xiao Bin? Your Xiao family is an aristocratic family. I believe that you aren't scammers, but there's no proof. Show me some evidence to prove that Xiaolong and your Xiao family have a marriage. I'll definitely approve of it. After all, Xiao family is an aristocratic family. It's an honor for us to marry you. You mother asterisk cur. Xiao Ji was about to scold him, but Xiao Bin glared at him. Hee, if that's the case, why do we need evidence? Why don't we make the decision now and rearrange the marriage? Our Xiao family also thinks that your Kong family is a good choice. Xiao Bin was a smart man, so he followed up on Kong Guifeng's topic. Kong Guifeng was stunned. He didn't expect Xiao Bin to catch on to his weakness. He couldn't help but be annoyed at his own carelessness. Xiaoji was also looking at his little brother in admiration. Amazing, truly amazing. Luckily, I didn't scold him, or else this matter would have been ruined and irreversible. Xiao Bin, you're right. However, I still can't agree to it. Kong Guifeng shook his head and rejected again. Why is that? Why? Brother Kang's words just now were just flattery? Xiao Bin took the opportunity to ask. That's not it. It's just that our Xiaolong is indeed engaged to another family, but I can't remember who it is at the moment. So, before everyone finds the evidence, I can't just casually arrange another engagement for Xiaolong for the time being. What if someone really has evidence and says that our Kong family broke off the marriage? Kong Guifeng said, So, Brother Xiao Bin, you better go back and find evidence. Sigh, this memory of mine. I'm getting old, and my brain isn't working well anymore. After that, Kong Guifeng turned around and walked back to the villa. As he walked, he waved at the Xiao family brothers. I still have something to do, so I won't be seeing you off. Xiao Bin's face was gloomy. The situation was clear. The Kong family broke off the marriage. They abandoned the Xiao family. However, one couldn't blame the Kong family for being snobbish. It couldn't be helped. After all, the Xiao family was in dire straits. It was normal for the Kong family to break off the marriage. Which great family would want to find a helper for themselves through marriage, not a burden? Phew. Xiao Bin let out a long sigh and said, Brother, let's go back. It's over. Mother asterisk cur. Are you blind? When the Xiao family makes a comeback, even if your Kong family licks my toes, I won't abandon you. Xiao Ji scolded loudly. Dr. Kong, you old bastard. You go back on your words. You will die a horrible death. Mother asterisk cur. However, the Kong family's door was closed, and they didn't pay attention to them. Obviously, after Kong Guifeng went back, he didn't plan to come out again. Let's go. Xiao Bin turned around helplessly and walked to the car. Kong family, just you wait. Sooner or later, you will regret it. After Xiao Ji finished scolding, he also vented his anger and left the Kong family's villa with Xiao Bin in the car. At the gate of the Kong family's villa, Kong Guifeng sneered as he watched the two Xiao family brothers leave. He sneered, The Xiao family? You have become a street rat. Do you still expect to make a comeback? In your mother's daydream. After Xiao Ji and Xiao Bin got into the car, Xiao Ji didn't stop cursing. All kinds of vulgar words and dialects came out of his mouth. In any case, he described the Kong family viciously and cursed all 18 generations of the Kong family's ancestors. All right, brother, stop scolding them. This is the fate of the Xiao family. Xiao Bin sighed and said, Now, we should think about the future of the Xiao family. That's true. Xiao Ji nodded. Although he was rude, he knew that it was useless to be angry now. Even if he scolded the Kong family, it wouldn't change the current situation of the Xiao family. Have you found any information on Uncle Pai's background? Xiao Bin asked. I've already asked Xiao Wangba and Xiao Wangdao to look in our family's diary, but it's been too long, and we don't have a target. We don't know when we'll find it, Xiao Ji said. If only Uncle Pai could wake up and talk, Xiao Bin said. Chapter 1022. Xiao Xiao's rage. Lin Yi took a nice hot shower, washing away the sweat on his body. He put on his clothes and was about to leave when he realized that there were 10 missed calls and 20 messages. The text messages could be sent at different times and received as soon as the phone was turned on, but the phone call must have just arrived. Linny checked the missed calls. There was only one from Tang Yun, and the rest were all from Xiao Xiao. Linny paused, but he still checked the messages first. Linny was speechless. They were all from Xiao Xiao. Darling, I miss you. This message came in the middle of the night. I got up early this morning. Come and pick me up early. This was sent in the morning. I'm done packing, going downstairs. This was from morning as well. Lin E, why didn't you reply? This was from morning as well. Linny, are you coming to pick me up or not? Why haven't I seen you? I'm going to be late. This was from morning as well. Wah, did you forget about me? This was from morning as well. Your phone's turned off. You really aren't coming to pick me up? This was from morning as well. Linny, you bastard. You should at least tell me if you don't want me anymore. I woke up in the middle of the night to get dressed. This was from morning as well. I'll take a taxi to school myself. Can't wait. This was from morning as well. Why didn't you come to school today? Where are you? What's wrong? This was from morning as well. Why's your phone still turned off? What's wrong? This was from morning as well. Linny smiled bitterly as he looked at Xiao Xiao's long list of messages, slapping his forehead helplessly. Only then did she remember that she promised Xiao Xiao yesterday that she'd take her to school this morning, but because of Uncle Fu, she didn't get to go. What about Yun Yin? How did she go to school? Linny looked at his messages, and under the sea of messages from Xiao Xiao, he finally saw one from Tang Yun. Linny, Faubert came to pick me up for school this morning. He said that you need to rest after healing him. I'm fine. You can rest well. Linny looked at Tang Yun's message and realized that it was Faubert who picked her up in the morning. Because Linny didn't wake up, Faubert knew that Linny had to pick Tang Yun up at school every day, so he naturally took on this responsibility. But he didn't know about Xiao Xiao's sudden incident, and the Miss and Yushu evidently didn't think of Xiao Xiao. After all, Xiao Xiao usually drove to school by herself. Who knew that she would have a date with Linny today? Linny sighed and decided to call Xiao Xiao first. Linny, you finally called me. I'm so happy. You called the small wife first. Xiao Xiao's excited voice came from the other side of the phone. Linny wanted to apologize to Xiao Xiao, because from her message, he could tell that she was quite angry and he did screw her over, making her wait the whole morning for nothing. But before Linny could say anything, Xiao Xiao called out excitedly, forcing Linny to swallow the apology he was about to say. I was healing someone and forgot the time, so I didn't wake up this morning, Linny said. Okay, I know. I knew you wouldn't ignore me for no reason. As expected, you didn't even talk to the big wife and called the small wife first. Yunin's sis is getting jealous. Xiao Xiao said happily. Xiao Xiao, what are you talking about? Who's getting jealous? Tang Yun said helplessly. She didn't feel anything about Lin Yi calling Xiao Xiao first. She didn't want to get jealous with Xiao Xiao, and besides, Xiao Xiao had called Lin Yi 12 times and texted him 20 times, while she only sent one. She'd already said that she knew about Lin Yi's situation, so it was reasonable for Lin Yi to call Xiao Xiao first. What was there to be jealous about? Oh, you're with Yunin? Lin Yi blinked, sweating. Tang Yun wouldn't be unhappy that he called Xiao Xiao first, would she? But Tang Yun's voice didn't sound different, so she wasn't angry anymore. I couldn't find you, so I went to Yunin's sis. I asked and found out that you didn't come to pick me up because you were healing someone, Xiao Xiao said. Yunin's sis called you just now and got through, but you didn't pick up, so I called you a bunch. Haha. Linny shook his head with a smile. This Xiao Xiao was quite an optimist, getting angry fast, getting happy fast, getting excited fast again. Are you coming to school in the afternoon? Xiao Xiao asked. Yeah, I'll be there in a bit, Linny said. Okay. Xiao Xiao was excited. She'd gotten up in the middle of the night to dress up, preparing to surprise Linny in the morning, but she didn't even see Linny. She couldn't help but feel disappointed. If she didn't see Linny today, her makeup would be for nothing. Give the phone to Yunin. I'll talk to her, Linny said. Since Tang Yun was by Xiao Xiao's side, Lin Yi didn't need to bother calling. Okay, Yunin sis, Lin Yi's looking for you. Xiao Xiao passed the phone to Tang Yun. Tang Yun took the phone and couldn't help but smile. Lin Yi, you got a second wife and forgot about the main one? Haha, of course not. Lin Yi smiled. He could tell that Tang Yun was joking. Stop fooling around. Are you all right? If you're tired, then don't come in the afternoon. Tang Yun cared about Lin Yi. After all, she and Lin Yi had been together for a long time. She didn't need to rush to see Lin Yi. I'm fine, see you later. Lin Yi said casually. All right, see you later. Is there anything else you need from Xiao Xiao? Tang Yun asked. Nope, I'm hanging up, Lin Yi said before hanging up. Tang Yun gave the phone back to Xiao Xiao, who happily put it away. Yunin sis, I look good now, right? I don't need to touch up my makeup from this morning, right? It's already good, you don't need to. Tang Yun smiled. Really? That's not bad. Xiao Xiao nodded. Lin Yi drove to school and parked his car at the food street behind the school, next to Xiao Xiao's car. But besides Xiao Xiao's car, there was another luxury car. It was a black Lamborghini. Chapter 10:23. Lin Yi jumped. Was this Xie Yufeng pretty rich? He bought a sports car on his first day of school transfer, but Lin Yi only took one look before walking back to school. What car Yufeng drove had nothing to do with him. As long as he didn't mess with him, he could do whatever he wanted. When Lin Yi got to school, it was already the first class in the afternoon. Lin Yi walked into the classroom and sat down at his desk. Not long after, the teacher walked in and started the afternoon class. Xiao Xiao was disappointed. Lin Yi didn't even look at her when he walked in. Didn't he notice that she was different from usual? Even that idiot Yufeng noticed it. After a while, Lin Yi still didn't look at her. He took out his textbook and listened to the teacher attentively. This made Xiao Xiao depressed. Ahem. Xiao Xiao couldn't take it anymore. She coughed twice, hoping to get Lin Yi's attention. What's wrong? Do you have a cold? Lin Yi heard Xiao Xiao's coughing and asked. But Lin Yi didn't even look at her when he asked. No. Xiao Xiao was even more depressed now. Hey, Lin Yi, talk to me? What? You're not paying attention anymore? Lin Yi asked. You always skip class. What's there to listen to? Talk to me. Xiao Xiao was panicking. Go ahead. I'm listening. Lin Yi nodded. You. Xiao Xiao was pissed. She couldn't hold it in anymore. Can't you turn around and look at me? Look at you? Why would I look at you? Lin Yi asked. Just tell me if you dare to look or not. Xiao Xiao said, panicking. Huh. Lin Yi's observation skills were extremely sharp. He'd seen Xiao Xiao the moment he entered the classroom, and he'd been stunned by her beauty. The first time he saw Xiao Xiao, she had heavy makeup on, looking like a non-mainstream girl. When she was at school, she didn't have any makeup on, but today she had light makeup on, and her hairstyle was meticulously styled. Even her clothes were carefully matched, with some simple accessories. It made Xiao Xiao look especially beautiful. It was just that Lin Yi wanted to tease Xiao Xiao, so he didn't say it out loud. As expected, Xiao Xiao couldn't wait any longer. What are you laughing at? Xiao Xiao asked back. Do you dare to look or not? I wouldn't dare. Lin Yi shook his head. Huh. Xiao Xiao paused, not expecting Lin Yi to say no. This caused her to freeze for a moment, then she immediately gritted her teeth. Lin Yi, why don't you dare? Because you're too pretty today. I only took one look at you when I came in, and my heart was already racing. I'm afraid that if I look too much, I'll molest you in the classroom, Lin Yi said. Xiao Xiao's mouth was wide open at Lin Yi's words, but then a smile blossomed on her face. So Lin Yi had seen what she looked like. Xiao Xiao couldn't help but feel happy. She started to say things when she was happy. It's fine, look again. I'm not afraid of being molested. Ahem. It was Lin Yi's turn to cough. Lin Yi, what's wrong? Do you have a cold? Xiao Xiao asked with a smile as she saw him coughing. She knew that Lin Yi was shocked by her words, but it was fun to scare Lin Yi a little. No. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Xiao Xiao, you really are pretty today. Hee hee. Good thing I didn't wake up early for nothing. I almost exploded when I didn't see you this morning, so I went to the washroom to wash off my makeup and messed up my hair. Xiao Xiao smiled. Lin Yi was getting a little restless from Xiao Xiao, but now that both Tang Yun and Tianlong had agreed to the relationship between Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao, and even the Miss and Shu weren't against it, Lin Yi couldn't resist the temptation anymore, and his hands started moving. Xiao Xiao suddenly felt Lin Yi's arms around her waist, and her face reddened. As brave as she was in a classroom, and the teacher was still teaching. She was starting to get nervous. But Linny had finally taken the initiative to get close to her, and she didn't want to let go of Lin Yi's hand. Usually, Linny wouldn't do something like this, and so Xiao Xiao was in a dilemma. Her body was stiff from nervousness, like a lobster that had come back to life. Linny sensed that Xiao Xiao wasn't acting normally and quickly took his hand away, blaming himself for being impulsive. Xiao Xiao was a girl, after all, and while she was a little bold, it wouldn't be good if other people saw him cuddling with her in the classroom. Xiao Xiao breathed out in relief when she felt Lin Yi's hand move away, but she was a little disappointed. Xiao Xiao's heart raced when Lin Yi touched her, and to tell the truth, she really liked this feeling. Was this the pleasure brought by intimate actions between lovers? Xiao Xiao knew that she didn't have much time left, and she didn't care if things progressed too fast or too slow. Since she'd chosen Lin Yi was her one and only boyfriend in this life, and also her last boyfriend. She was going to be 20 soon, and who knew when she'd die? She wanted to enjoy the feeling of being in a relationship, and she didn't have the time to be reserved. But she was afraid that she'd scare Lin Yi if she was too passionate. Tang Yun seemed to be a reserved person, right? At that thought, Xiao Xiao started to struggle. What a headache! She couldn't act too impatient. Xiao Xiao, I'm sorry, Lin Yi apologized bitterly, thinking that Xiao Xiao was angry when she didn't say anything. It's nothing. Xiao Xiao shook her head. We're sitting at the back, and no one can see us. You can continue if you want, haha, we'll talk about it when there's no one around. Lin Yi controlled his desire and said, Oh. Xiao Xiao nodded, feeling a little down. But since Lin Yi said that they'd talk about it when there was no one around, that meant that Lin Yi had agreed. Lin Yi would always reject her, but now that he'd agreed, it made Xiao Xiao very happy. She whispered into Lin Yi's ear, When there's no one around, I'll let you touch my chest. Chapter 10:24. Chapter 10:22. Xie Yufeng's plans, but remembering that they were in the classroom, he shook his head. But Xiao Xiao's words were too tempting and destructive, and he didn't know how she managed to say it. Xiao Xiao didn't mean what she said, but the listener meant what she said. The only thing she could think of being intimate with Lin Yi was that time at the auction, so she just blurted it out naturally, not thinking too much about it. But from Lin Yi's point of view, it sounded a little tempting. Why were you reacting so strongly? Lin Yi's actions almost made Xiao Xiao's heart pop out of her chest. She was already nervous, and Lin Yi's sudden quack scared her. It's fine, Xiao Xiao. Don't try to tempt me in class, Lin Yi said helplessly. Xiao Xiao blinked, blushing. Since when did I? Haha. Lin Yi smiled. Xiao Xiao turned her head away, embarrassed, not daring to look at Lin Yi. She was brave, but she couldn't take Lin Yi's teasing. But, just as Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao were teasing each other, an unfriendly gaze shot over, stopping on Xiao Xiao's face before glancing at Lin Yi's face. The owner of the gaze had a dark expression as he humphed coldly. This kid's quite popular. Yeah, Master Xie. That kid's a bastard. He made Master Xie so miserable yesterday. Songming nodded. Master Xie can't fight. He has to hide his strength. Otherwise, that Lin Yi won't be a match for Master Xie. He's just a mystic early phase. He's so weak in front of Master Xie. House Yu's current understanding of Lin Yi's strength came from Yu Kuan. At that time, Lin Yi was indeed at the early phase of Mystic class, and House Yu would never have dreamt that Lin Yi could rise 2 levels to the middle phase of Mystic class in such a short amount of time. As far as they were concerned, this was impossible and illogical. One had to know how long it would take to level up, and what kind of price one had to pay. House Yu knew this very well, so they didn't think that Lin Yi could level up at all. So Yu Feng didn't know that Lin Yi was already a Mystic mid-phase master. As far as he was concerned, he was a peak early-phase Mystic class master. It was more than enough to kill Lin Yi. He couldn't be blamed for thinking so. He didn't have a cheat like Lin Yi, so how could he see through Lin Yi's strength? Of course. But for the sake of House Yu's plan, I can't use my chi. I'll have to bear with it for now. Yu Feng humphed coldly. This Xiao Xiao is a slut, too. Look at that dirty face of hers, getting so close with Lin Yi. She's not a good person either. Right. Did you find out anything about the girls I asked you to investigate? Yu Feng wasn't able to get Xiao Xiao yesterday, so naturally, he was pissed. Seeing how close Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi were, he wasn't too happy either. Master Xie, other than Mingyao, we've investigated the rest. This Xiaoxiao's family isn't anything special. Her father may be a secret agent, but he wouldn't go against House Yu just because of his daughter. Songming said, what about the others? Yu Feng nodded. That Yu Shu is from House Jin. It's best if you don't touch her, Master Xie. Songming said, House Jin? Noble House Jin? Yu Feng asked. Yes, her brother is Chen Yutian. Although Chen Yutian is the only practitioner left, it's still a noble house. Songming said, so it's best if you don't touch her. Oh, then let her go for now. That girl's pretty bad. I really don't want to mess with her. Yu Feng nodded. What about that Tang Yun? Normal family, her parents are laid off. They don't even have a house, staying in the hospital. Songming said, you can touch her, even if you kill her. Oh, not bad. Let's start with Xiaoxiao, then look for that Tang Yun. Yu Feng nodded. Master Xie, this Xiaoxiao girl doesn't seem to be easy to handle. Should we do something? Songming suggested. In Yinjing, House Yu was a big family, so Songming and Peng Hu didn't care about anything when they were with Yu Feng. As far as they were concerned, hitting on girls like this was a common thing. Not yet. Let's wait and see. My charm hasn't been unleashed yet. Once it's unleashed, they'll throw themselves at me. Yu Feng remembered the scene of him getting beaten up yesterday and couldn't help but grit his teeth. Fuck. Yesterday was supposed to be a good opportunity, but that Linny kid just had to be there. Not only did I get beaten up, I didn't even get to show my strength. Young Master Xie, those people from yesterday, do you need me and Li Penghu? Songming made a beheading gesture as he said this. No need, we're new here, so it's best not to cause trouble. Yu Feng shook his head. We'll let them go for now, but we won't let this go just like that. We need to find out who they are first. No problem. Songming nodded. Yu Feng and the others were talking with their backs turned, so no one could hear them. Because of the angle they were at, they weren't worried that Lin Yi could read their lips. But, although Lin Yi didn't hear what they were saying, he knew that they were up to no good just by looking at how they were mumbling. He tightened his guard. The second class in the afternoon was physical education. Although some of the subjects were canceled for the third year of high school, physical education was still maintained. First, it was to give the students a chance to exercise their bodies. Second, it was because Songshan City's high school entrance exam would be added to the physical education test. If they didn't pass, it would affect the exam. The additional PE test was a selective one, such as running, long jump, basketball, chin-ups, and sit-ups. The requirements for boys and girls were different as well. So, in order to get a good result in the PE test, the 12th year's PE class became a targeted training. It was just that in the summer, boys and girls didn't wear many clothes, and many girls wore skirts, so it was easier for them to be exposed. So, the PE class was separated for boys and girls, 1 week for girls. The girls were in the gymnasium, and there was a female PE teacher to guide them, so they didn't have to hide anything. Many girls would just take off their jackets when it was hot, and they'd just wear a tank top to train. Chapter 10:25. Who's afraid? Just then, Yushu walked over and looked at Xiaoxiao. Oh, Miss Dumb, do you want to go to the gym and have a showdown with me? You're the dumb girl. Xiaoxiao humphed. Let's go. I'm not afraid of you. Xiaoxiao and Yushu hadn't decided who was stronger yesterday, and now that there was a chance, Xiaoxiao wouldn't let it go. Naturally, she didn't know that Yushu was the one who approached her. Mengyao and Yushu had already discussed it, agreeing to Lin Yi dating Xiaoxiao at the last stage of her life. But if things went according to yesterday's situation, there would be some conflict, and if things changed all of a sudden, Xiaoxiao would be suspicious. So, Mengyao told Yushu to think of a way to get closer to Xiaoxiao. At the very least, they wouldn't be so out of place in the future. Lin Yi, here's your phone. Help me take care of it. Xiaoxiao gave the phone to Lin Yi. Phones weren't allowed in the gymnasium. One reason was that it would affect training, and the other was that people with bad intentions might take pictures of students with their phones. That would be a problem. And so, there were electronic detectors at the entrance of the gymnasium, and as time went by, no one brought their phones in anymore. They didn't feel safe leaving their phone in the box at the entrance, afraid that someone might take it away. Okay. Linny nodded and took Xiaoxiao's phone, watching her and Yushu leave the classroom. A smile appeared on Lin Yi's lips. It seemed that Yushu had made her move. With Shu's methods, these two devils would probably be playing together soon. Lin Yi's guess was correct. Yushu was indeed making her move. She was planning to become Xiao Xiao's rival first, and then occasionally work together to mess with her. Their relationship would definitely grow stronger. Lin Yi's previous phone was broken by Ma Zhu, so he was using a phone that was similar to Shu's flip phone, but it had fewer functions. The system wasn't smart, and there wasn't much to play in the games. This class was a physical education class for the girls, but it was a self-study class for the boys. They could read in the classroom, and of course, no one would stop them if they wanted to go to the field to play. However, Year 3 students were more or less self-conscious. Who would want to play when the college entrance examination was coming up? Besides, even if he went to play, who would he play with? Could it be that he was playing by himself? Although Lin Yi would listen attentively in class, he would not review after class. After Xiao Xiao left, Lin Yi played with Xiao Xiao's phone casually, pulling out Plants vs. Zombies and playing it out of boredom. Boss, you're with Xiao Xiao? Kong Xiaobo waited until all the girls were gone before turning around and asking with shifty eyes, "What do you mean by with?" "It sounds so bad." Lin Yi smiled bitterly. "Heh, I heard you guys whispering in class. I think Xiao Xiao even asked you to touch her chest?" Xiaobo said with a chuckle. Lin Yi was speechless. Did Kong Xiaobo hear that? But Lin Yi could only explain, "I didn't touch her just now. You know how she is. She dares to say anything." Oh, Kong Xiaobo nodded. "I know you didn't touch her, but you guys are developing pretty fast, aren't you? Plus, I saw her with Tangyun this afternoon." "Yeah," Lin Yi nodded. "No way. She's that close with Tangyun? Tangyun agreed to your relationship with Xiao Xiao?" Kong Xiaobo's eyes widened in shock. He had guessed that Tangyun and Xiao Xiao were getting along peacefully, since they were talking and laughing when he saw them at noon. They didn't look like enemies at all. But hearing Lin Yi's confirmation, Kong Xiaobo gave him a thumbs up. "Boss, you're amazing. Too awesome. I admire you so much. You're a master amongst masters at picking up girls." Sweat. Lin Yi sweated. Tangyun actually accepted Xiao Xiao first, and then she asked me to accept her. You're getting it backwards. What? Kong Xiaobo almost rolled his eyes at Lin Yi's words. Tangyun accepted her first? That's why Lin Yi accepted her? Are you kidding me? How is that possible? Tangyun helped Lin Yi find a mistress? All right, it's a bit complicated. I'll tell you in detail later. Lin Yi didn't want to hide Xiao Xiao's condition from Kong Xiaobo. Only when Kong Xiaobo understood everything would he be able to cooperate with him. What is it? Tell me now. Kong Xiaobo was curious. Sure. Lin Yi nodded. Let's go for a walk then. Kong Xiaobo stood up with Lin Yi, and the two left the classroom, heading downstairs. Yu Feng, Song Ming, and Peng Hu, on the other hand, were whispering to each other, plotting something. Master Xie, I heard that girls don't wear much in PE class, and some of them are revealing. Song Ming said softly. Oh. Yu Feng was interested, really? Of course it's true. Think about it, it's summer now, and the gym is hot. You'd be sweating when you exercise, and then… Heh. Song Ming said with a perverted smile. Then wouldn't there be a lot of peeping? You just transferred here, and you already know about it. How could the people who used to study here not know about it? Yu Feng didn't really believe it. Of course they know, but the gym's windows are really high, and the shortest is at least 3 meters. Who can even look up there? Song Ming smiled. Only a master like you can fly up there? But that's not a good idea, right? What if someone sees it? Yu Feng hesitated. Although peeping was very exciting, he couldn't afford to lose his reputation, especially when he wanted to pick up girls in school. He might feel good after peeping for a while, but if he was discovered, his reputation would go down the drain. Behind the gym is the mountain behind the school. Who would see it? Song Ming smiled. I've already scouted the area. You've planned this all along, huh? Yu Feng nodded after hearing that the back of the gym was facing the mountain behind the school. That's right. I've already thought about it. I'll use the camera to take pictures of Xiao Xiao and the others and use it to threaten them. If they don't listen to Master Xie, I'll expose them. Let's see how shameless they are. Chapter 1026. Fight to the death, alright, we'll go now. Is the camera ready? Yu Feng asked. Phones won't be able to record clearly. Of course, it's a new product, 60x optical zoom. I just bought it. Ming took out a small camcorder from his bag and smiled at Yu Feng. What do you think? Not bad, right? I heard you can even use it to shoot AV. Oh, it looks pretty good. Yu Feng took it and played with it before giving it back to Ming. Let's go. We'll go peep. The three walked out of the classroom, and Yu Feng suddenly remembered that Linny had left the classroom as well. Linny wouldn't be peeping too, would he? It's possible. Ming nodded. Why else would he go out? Don't let him see us. Yu Feng frowned. It'd be better if he sees us. We'll use the camera to record him, and when the thief calls the thief, we'll expose him to the world. Let's see if he'll lose his reputation. Wang Tsongming smiled disapprovingly. He was a rather insidious person, and he could always think of some dirty tricks. That's a good idea, killing without leaving a trace. Humph, Linny. Let's see if he's good with women. We'll expose him for peeping on girls in PE class. Yu Feng nodded in approval. Linny, naturally, didn't know that Yu Feng was already thinking of him as a pervert. Lin Yi and Kang Xiaobo were sitting on a flower bed in the school field, talking. Boss, does that mean Xiao Xiao is really going to die? She has a terminal illness, and even you can't do anything about it? Kang Xiaobo's eyes went wide after hearing Lin Yi's explanation. He never would have thought that the energetic Xiao Xiao was someone who was about to die. I can't do anything about it either. Lin Yi shook his head helplessly. My medical skills aren't omnipotent. It's limited to the known illnesses, but for the unknown, I can't do anything about it. I said it before, I can't find anything in Xiao Xiao's body. How am I supposed to cure her? That's true. We don't even know what illness she has, so how can we cure it? Kang Xiaobo sighed. She's so pitiful. Even the heavens are jealous of her beauty. Yeah, I thought she had an ulterior motive when she approached me, but it doesn't matter now. She's willing to let me teach her how to race, or anything else. She only has less than a year left to live, and I'll try my best to satisfy her wishes. Linny had thought things through as well. If Xiao Xiao liked racing, then he'd do his best to satisfy her wishes, but this racing couldn't be done on normal roads. It was too dangerous. Lin Yi decided to bring Xiao Xiao to a race and let her experience what it was like to race. Boss, actually, Xiao Xiao told me a couple of times about you before, but I didn't tell you. Kang Xiaobo decided to be honest with Lin Yi after some hesitation. Oh. Lin Yi narrowed his eyes as he smiled at Kang Xiaobo. Kang Xiaobo was a little embarrassed from Lin Yi's stare. He coughed dryly. Boss, actually, Xiao Xiao told me that she likes you and wants to pursue you. I saw how pitiful she was, and my heart softened. I told her how to pursue you. Oh, how? Linny smiled. I told her that you're a good person, boss, and you can be persuaded but not cowed. If she goes against you, then there's no hope, but if she goes along with you, then there's still hope. Kang Xiaobo said, embarrassed. Haha, it's nothing. Linny nodded. Kang Xiaobo's words weren't anything confidential, but as one of Lin Yi's most trusted people, Linny still reminded him. Xiaobo, you mean well, but don't say these things again. You need to learn how to keep it a secret. I know, boss. I regretted it a few days after I said it. Kang Xiaobo smiled bitterly. I read some books about business and management, and they all mention the importance of business secrets. But now that I said it, I'm relieved. Haha, this isn't considered a business secret. Lin Yi waved his hand. But if you see a girl who likes me and asks her to chase me, I can't stand it. Huh, this kind of good thing, why doesn't it happen to me? Kang Xiaobo also smiled. Alright, boss, the product launch at the beginning of next month. Boss Lai also asked me to attend, but I think I'm still in the internship stage. It's not suitable for me to walk on the stage, right? What's not suitable about it? There will be more occasions like this in the future. There will be a process of adaptation, Linny said. When the time comes, just follow Fatty Lai and watch more. Okay, boss. Kang Xiaobo nodded. Let's go, we'll just walk around. Linny sat for a while and felt that the sun was a little hot, so he stood up. Kang Xiaobo had decided to work hard on his business, so the college entrance exams weren't that important anymore. He just needed to spend money to get into a university. He didn't need to be too serious. Studying hard for more than 10 years was just to have a good future. And now that Kang Xiaobo had a bright future, he wouldn't put the cart before the horse. Looking at the familiar campus, Kang Xiaobo felt a little emotional. 2 months ago, he was just a normal student, but after meeting Lin Yi, everything changed. He became the vice president of a company, and he even found a beautiful girlfriend. Although her leg was a little lame, with Lin Yi around, it wouldn't be a problem if it was cured. In the school gymnasium, Xiao Xiao and Yushu were ready for a fight to the death. The two were at the starting line, their eyes wide open as they glared at each other. I told you couldn't do it. You threw the medicine ball so close, you almost hit your own foot. Yushu said proudly. I finally know what it means to shoot yourself in the foot. You're fat, that's why you're stronger than me. Xiao Xiao wasn't happy. She had never practiced medicine ball before, either skipping classes or going to the doctor in school. She didn't have time to study medicine ball. So naturally, she lost to Yushu the first time she threw it. Chapter 10:27. Chapter 10:25. Successful counterattack. Shu, how could you say something so rude? Meng Yao, who was standing beside Yushu, glared at her when she heard what Yushu said. Hee, Yao Yao, I got it. Yushu stuck her tongue out. You. Xiao Xiao's heart was about to explode as she glared at Yushu. I'll beat you in sprinting for sure. Those 2 balls in front of your chest are just a burden. You'll die from running later. Cut them off if you want to win. I think you're just jealous. Yushu didn't mind at all. Don't you see that your Yun sis is starting to get her breasts enlarged? You're too flat. Shield bro doesn't like the small ones. Meng Yao, on the other hand, frowned. Lin Yi didn't like the little ones? Then, should she get her breasts enlarged as well? Even Tang Yun was starting to get her breasts enlarged. She couldn't fall behind. The miss had never thought about getting her breasts enlarged before. After all, she'd always lived in a world where she was the center, and she only had Shu as a friend. She didn't need to get her breasts enlarged for anyone, and she didn't care if a man liked her breasts or not. But now, Meng Yao realized that she was starting to care about these things. Yes, it wasn't that she cared. It was that she'd grown up and loved to look pretty. Meng Yao found an excuse for herself. That's right. She loved to look pretty when she'd grown up. Who said that? Lin Yi touched it, and he said it was good, it felt good. He really liked touching it. Xiao Xiao said furiously. Touched you? When? Yushu blinked. A while ago, in Yinjing, I was sitting next to him at the auction, Xiao Xiao said logically, wanting Yushu to know that she wasn't making it up. Oh, so it's only once? Yushu breathed out in relief, giggling. Shield bro always touched me when he was at home. A couple times already. Bullshit, Xiao Xiao said with a smile on her face. She saw the PE teacher raise the flag in his hand, getting ready to run. You're the one who's bullshitting. Yushu was about to retort when she realized something was wrong. Xiao Xiao was already gone. Sister Yao Yao and the others also started to run. Haha, big idiot Shu, I'm going first. Xiao Xiao was dancing around happily. I'm going to win for sure this time. Wait for me. You're cheating. Yushu started running, chasing after Xiao Xiao, but this was a 100-meter dash, and Xiao Xiao was already so far away. How was Yushu going to catch up? In order to run faster, Yushu put her hands on her chest as she ran, but by the time she reached the finish line, Xiao Xiao was already a few seconds away. Ha 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 ha. Xiao Xiao was on the verge of tears. Ha 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 ha. I won. Xiao Xiao Xiao, why don't you laugh yourself to death? No wonder you're called Xiao Xiao. Yushu was pissed. I wouldn't have lost if you hadn't cheated. What do you mean cheated? The teacher waved the flag, and I started running. What kind of cheated is that? You didn't see it yourself, and you're saying I cheated? You're just a little bit of a renege on society. Xiao Xiao finally countered Yushu's shamelessness perfectly. Yushu didn't expect this Xiao Xiao to be this strong as well. She couldn't get the upper hand at all when fighting her, and the two of them were evenly matched right now. Ha 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 ha. I'm dying of laughter. Xiao Xiao didn't stop laughing, but after 2 laughs, she stopped abruptly, clutching her stomach as she crouched down in pain. Yushu looked at Xiao Xiao, confused. What's wrong? I just ran, and I'm laughing so hard. It hurts. Xiao Xiao said weakly as she crouched on the ground. Yushu's eyes went wide, almost bursting out in laughter. What did it mean to have extreme joy turn to sorrow? This was it. She was a living example. But remembering Xiao Xiao's pitiful life, Yushu couldn't laugh anymore. She crouched down and pulled Xiao Xiao up. Let's go. I'll help you to the chair over there to rest. The PE teacher noticed something was wrong and walked over, asking what was going on. Mengyao stayed behind to explain, telling the teacher that Xiao Xiao was just choking, and the teacher let out a sigh of relief before leaving. If something were to happen to the student, the PE teacher would be held responsible as well. Xiao Xiao looked at Yushu, shocked. The two were enemies, and she didn't believe that Yushu would be so nice as to help her to rest. You're really going to help me to rest? Xiao Xiao looked at Yushu in disbelief. Oh, Yushu's brain spun furiously. She was indeed acting a little out of the ordinary. Logically speaking, she should be pointing at Xiao Xiao and laughing when she saw her pained face, but Yushu really couldn't laugh at all. However, she finally thought of a reasonable reason and said, I'm evenly matched. Naturally, I won't let you die so quickly. I, little Shu, am a very upright person. I never take advantage of others. So, let's wait for you to rest first, then we'll compete again. It's a tie now. Haha, I see. Xiao Xiao nodded after hearing Yushu's explanation. You're not a bad person. If you didn't fight with me over Lin Yi, we'd be playing together. Yeah, I think so too, Yushu nodded. The two sat on the chairs at the side of the gym and rested. After resting for a while, Xiao Xiao felt more or less recovered, but she didn't dare do any more strenuous exercises. I'm afraid I can't fight you today. I'm still feeling a little uncomfortable, and I'm afraid I'll have a chest ache again. It's fine. We'll fight with words if we can't fight. Yushu said nonchalantly. Fight with words? Xiao Xiao blinked. Fight with pranks. See who's better at pranking. Yushu said, that's a good idea. But who are we pranking? I'll say this first. I'm not going to prank Lin Yi. Xiao Xiao's but hurt just thinking about pranking Lin Yi. Plus, she didn't want to prank Lin Yi right now. Oh, you can't prank Shield Bro. He's too strong. Only an idiot would prank him. Yushu shook her head and looked at Xiao Xiao, smiling evilly. Chapter 1028. Chapter 1026. The prankster duo in action, nothing. Yushu looked up at the sky, as if saying she didn't know anything and didn't need to ask her anything. But all of a sudden, Yushu let out a yelp. What's wrong? Xiao Xiao was curious. Look at the window above us. Yushu pointed at the top of her head with a weird look on her face. What's wrong with the window? Xiao Xiao raised her head, confused, but what she saw gave her a big fright. There was a person lying on the ground outside the window, but there was a security net outside the window, so people couldn't stick their heads in from the outside. Xie Yufeng? Xiao Xiao recognized the person on the window. It was the new transfer student from yesterday. She couldn't help but get a little annoyed. This guy looks like a dog, but why's he so perverted? Peeking at girls' training? Yeah, but we found him. Yushu's face lit up with excitement. Xiao Xiao nodded, understanding Yushu's gaze. The two didn't need to talk much, and they were already making their way to the gym's warehouse. The gym teacher didn't lock the door when he opened the warehouse to take out the medicine balls and other training equipment, since they still had to put them back after class. There was no way the teacher would think that someone would go into the warehouse during class. Yushu and Xiao Xiao went into the storehouse to look for tools to mess with people. The gymnasium storehouse was really big, and there were a lot of things. Other than sports training equipment, there were also sports clothes and school security uniforms. Heh. Yushu pulled out a couple of ice skates and nail shoes from a rack, smiling. Xiao Xiao looked at the weapons in Yushu's hands, her lips curling up slightly. You want them to fall and sit on it? Yeah, but how do we make them fall down? Yushu nodded, troubled as well. Xiao Xiao's eyes scanned the warehouse before landing on something. She quickly ran over and picked it up, waving her hand happily. Leave this to me. I'll let them have a taste of the stun baton. There was a stun baton in Xiao Xiao's hands. These were used by the school security guards when they patrolled the school at night. Naturally, there were extra ones, just like the security guards' uniforms, which were kept in the warehouse. Then we'll split up. Yushu felt that this Xiao Xiao was a match made in the first place. Yufeng and the others were dead for sure. No problem. Xiao Xiao raised her right hand. Yushu raised her hand and high-fived Xiao Xiao. Let's celebrate a big victory. After I set up the trap, I'll meow like a cat under the adjacent window. Then, you'll shock them down. With that, Yushu ran out of the gymnasium with a bunch of nail shoes and ice skates. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, took the electric baton and went to the window next to Yufeng's. This was a blind spot, and if Yufeng didn't intentionally look down, he wouldn't be able to see the people on the seats. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, was sitting next to the window, and it was even harder to see. Yufeng, Penghu, and Songming all climbed up the wire mesh on top of the window. The mesh was a bit high, but with the help of Yufeng's qi, Penghu and Songming were easily pulled up. Did you find her? How come I don't see Xiao Xiao? Yufeng looked outside the window for a long time, but he didn't see Xiao Xiao anywhere. He mumbled to himself, "This girl isn't skipping class, is she? Yeah, I don't see her either, but I see Ming Yao. She's wearing shorts, and she didn't take off her shirt, so there's nothing to see." Song Ming said regretfully, "I don't see that big tits Yushu either." Penghu said pervertedly, "Every time I think of her breasts, I can't sleep." Yushu had just walked under the tree when she heard Penghu talking bad about her. She was pissed. Her breasts were for shield bro, and he dared to fantasize about her? Humph, I'll leave this ice skate to you. You better sit on your balls. Yushu lined up the ice skate and nail shoes in the path of the three's fall, and she snuck under the wall next to the window. This way, the three wouldn't be able to see her from their angle. After doing all this, Yushu pinched her nose and meowed like a cat. Meow. The cat's meow gave the three of them a scare. Yufeng was a mystic, but in order to hide his identity, he didn't dare use his qi casually. He only used a bit of qi when he went up the wire, and the rest was suppressed inside his body. Who knew when Lin Yi would show up? He saw Lin Yi come out of the class. What if Lin Yi came here? So naturally, he didn't notice Yushu coming over. What's that sound? Yufeng frowned. Sounds like a cat, it's fine. Songming shook his head. Yeah, it's a cat, and it's a female cat in heat. Penghu added. Oh. Yufeng nodded and continued peeping. Yushu was pissed. Your mother is the female cat in heat. You'll get it later. In the gymnasium, Xiao Xiao heard Yushu's signal and quickly climbed up the back of the seat to the edge of the window. Since there were seats to support her feet, and the inside of the gymnasium was higher than the outside, it was easy for her to climb up to the window. Hee. Xiao Xiao grinned and turned on the electric baton, stabbing it into the barbed wire. The wires outside the window were all interconnected, and so when Xiao Xiao touched them with the baton, Yufeng, Songming, and Penghu cried out in pain, shivering as they fell off the wire. But, the moment he landed, he saw the spiked shoes and ice skates, and he jumped in fright. If he sat on them, he'd get an anal fistula. Yufeng jumped in fright. He subconsciously wanted to use his qi to protect himself and jump away. That would push Songming and Penghu away. HM? Isn't this Yufeng? Are you a trapeze artist? Chapter 1029. Tragedy struck again. Lin Yi and Kang Xiaobo finished their conversation and walked around the field. He suddenly remembered the tree he planted a while ago, wondering how it was doing. He decided to go to the back hill with Kang Xiaobo when he saw Yushu setting up a trap, but Lin Yi didn't say anything. He wanted to see how Yufeng would take the bait after Yushu was done. Logically speaking, with Xie Yufeng's skills, even if he saw the spiked shoes and ice skates, he would be able to jump away. It wouldn't pose any threat to him. The next moment, Lin Yi saw Yushu hiding in a corner and meowing like a cat. Not long after, Yufeng and the other two cried out as if they were hit by something and fell from the wire. Lin Yi took a closer look and saw Xiao Xiao on the other side of the window, covering her mouth as she giggled. Lin Yi suddenly felt a chill. These two girls were too bad. This Xie Yufeng was really unlucky to have met these two. However, Lin Yi noticed that Xie Yufeng was using qi to protect himself, so Lin Yi came out. He knew that Yufeng was purposely hiding his true strength in front of him, but he didn't mind letting Yufeng have a taste of his own medicine. As expected, the moment Lin Yi opened his mouth, Yufeng dispersed his qi. Yufeng subconsciously dispersed his qi, but after doing so, he suddenly remembered that he had spikes and ice skates on his butt. This was not a joke. If he were to be pricked, would it be any better? Even if his strength was discovered by Lin Yi, he couldn't just watch as he sat on a nail shoe. That was undoubtedly equivalent to courting death. But by the time he realized this, it was already too late. By the time he wanted to circulate his true qi again, it was already too late. He directly sat down on the nail shoe and let out another miserable howl. Penghu and Songming weren't any better. Penghu was fatter, and when he sat on the ice skate cut right between his buttocks and directly cut his balls. His eyes rolled back in pain, and his body twitched as he fainted. Although Wang Songming's eggs weren't cut, his buttocks were cut into 4 pieces. He was in excruciating pain. Yufeng realized, tragically, that his anus was prolapsed. Oh, Yushu clapped happily, not expecting Lin Yi to show up. She ran to Lin Yi with a smile. Shield bro, you're here. They're performing SM. Yufeng heard Yushu's words and almost fainted as well. Performing SM? What kind of performance was that? Was there something wrong with his brain? But he knew that what he was doing couldn't be seen in the light of day. If someone found out that he was peeping, then his reputation in school would be ruined, and he wouldn't be able to chase girls anymore. With that thought, Yufeng gritted his teeth and stood up, enduring the pain. He was truly a cultivator, and his endurance was pretty strong. Kicking the unconsciously Penghu, he pulled the howling Wang Songming and cursed, "Get up and go to the hospital if you don't want to die." Penghu's balls were cut, but Yufeng's kick woke him up, and so, he got up from the ground and ran to the hospital with Yufeng and Songming. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, saw Lin Yi from the window. She put the electric baton back into the storage and ran out of the gym as well. This scene was not discovered by the teachers and students who were training over there. After all, they were training in full swing over there, and they were all shouting slogans. Compared to them, the movements here were much quieter. Lin Yi, why are you here? Xiao Xiao saw Yushu and Lin Yi talking, not wanting to be outdone. You too. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Aren't you a little too much? Oh, Shield bro, who do you think is more violent? Yushu asked. With that, she looked at Lin Yi expectantly, and so did Xiao Xiao. She and Yushu were tied before, so Lin Yi's evaluation was quite important. Of course, even if it wasn't a tie before, Lin Yi's evaluation was still very important because they wanted Lin Yi's approval the most. I think you two need to be together to bring out your full potential, Lin Yi said. Oh, I see. Yushu frowned after hearing Lin Yi's words. She thought about it and forced herself to say to Xiao Xiao, since Shield Bro likes our combo, I'll force myself to team up with you once in a while. Humph, force yourself? Xiao Xiao curled her lips in disdain. I'm the one who's taking care of Lin Yi's face by teaming up with you. But if you provoke me again, I'll break up with you and go solo. I can't provoke you, but you can't provoke me first either, Yushu said after some thought. How about this? Whoever provokes me first gives up. You're just a small wife. Why would I care if you don't provoke me first? I'm a small wife. It's not like you'll affect me. Xiao Xiao said. That's true. Yushu nodded. No matter how you fight, you're still the small wife. Let Yao Yao go fight for the big wife dash. Lin Yi smiled faintly, knowing that Yushu was trying to be nice. If Yushu hadn't lowered her head first, Xiao Xiao wouldn't have lowered her head so easily. But the result was good. The two weren't enemies anymore. They might not be that close right away, but they'd get along better after some time. After all, these two had something in common. They could work together to mess with each other. All right, class isn't over yet. Hurry up and bring the spiked shoes back to the gymnasium. Don't let anyone find out. Lin Yi pointed at the bloodied shoes and ice skates on the ground. Oh, okay. Yushu picked up the shoe, and Xiao Xiao reached out to help as well, and the two of them carried the things back silently. Kang Xiaobo, on the other hand, didn't say anything. He knew he couldn't say anything right now, so he just watched quietly until Xiao Xiao and Yushu left. He sighed. That Xie Yufeng sure is unlucky, getting his ass kicked. Thank goodness you were able to tame these two devils, boss. Otherwise, how are we supposed to live in the future? Linny smiled. It was true, Yushu and Xiao Xiao were devils in front of outsiders, but they were very gentle to him. Chapter 1030. Chapter 1028. Xiao Xiao's Wish Camcorder? Kong Xiaobo picked it up and looked at it. It was a small video recorder. They're not trying to take pictures, are they? Linny shrugged. Let's see if there's a video and delete it. Kong Xiaobo pulled up the video and saw that it was indeed from the gymnasium. A group of girls were training, and some of the girls were wearing very little, but Meng Yao and Yushu weren't there. Kong Xiaobo took a quick look and deleted the video. He was a pervert, but he wouldn't look at immoral things like this. Boss, what do we do with this camcorder? Kong Xiaobo asked. You take it back and play with it. You don't want to give it back to Yufeng, do you? Linny didn't even think about giving it back. Oh, that's fine. I'll give it to Fawn to play with. Kong Xiaobo put the camcorder away happily. After this incident, Lin Yi didn't want to stay in the school anymore. He turned to Kong Xiaobo. Let's go back to class. Kong Xiaobo wanted to go back and study the camcorder as well so that he could take a selfie with Fawn. He didn't have anything with Fin yet, but it was a good idea. Lin Yi and Kong Xiaobo went back to the classroom, but Yufeng and the other two weren't back yet. Their seats were empty, evidently at the hospital, but Lin Yi couldn't be bothered with them. Since they wanted to hide their strength, then go hide it. Yushu and Xiao Xiao would mess with them every day until they died. Let's see how long they could take it. Xiaobo went off to figure out how to operate the camcorder, while Linny went back to the game he was playing earlier. After playing for a while, Linny felt bored and exited the game to see if there was anything else on his phone. Linny was just casually looking through the phone, but he accidentally entered a notepad software. There was a file called My Wish. Originally, when Linny saw that it was a private folder, he was ready to push it out immediately after entering. However, when he saw the file called My Wish, Lin Yi hesitated. Lin Yi was very clear about Xiao Xiao's situation. She only had 1 year left at most, and that was the most optimistic scenario. To put it in a sad way, Xiao Xiao might die tomorrow, and so, Lin Yi cared a lot about Xiao Xiao's dying wish. If it was possible, Lin Yi wanted to make it come true for Xiao Xiao. This would allow Xiao Xiao to live a life without regrets. But just when Lin Yi was about to look at the file named My Wish, the bell rang at an untimely time. Lin Yi frowned. There was some distance between the gym and the school building, but Xiao Xiao would be back in a few minutes. With that thought, Lin Yi didn't hesitate any longer. He opened the file called My Wish and looked at the contents. After opening it, Lin Yi realized that this My Wish document wasn't completed in one day. It was divided into many pages. Each page only had one wish and the date of the wish. If the wish was fulfilled, Xiao Xiao would mark it as fulfilled on the index page. If it wasn't fulfilled, there was no mark. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. If it was all written on one page, Lin Yi might be able to finish it in a few minutes, but if he had to go through it page by page, he might not be able to finish it today. But there was physical education every week, and Lin Yi wasn't in a rush to finish it all in one day. He'd read as much as he could today, and pick the easier ones to help Xiao Xiao first. Lin Yi opened the link with the earliest date on the index page and started reading. Can my illness really be cured? I'm going to Yinjing's hospital with Dad tomorrow. I heard it's a hospital that specializes in hereditary diseases. I'm so nervous. I hope this hospital can cure me. Looking at Xiao Xiao's wish, Lin Yi was a little speechless. If her illness could be cured, why would Lin Yi go through all that trouble to fulfill her wish? This Xiao Xiao's wish was really. But looking at the date, Lin Yi shook his head and smiled bitterly. This wish was written 3 years ago, and Xiao Xiao was probably still fantasizing about her illness at that time. But was this phone Xiao Xiao was using 3 years ago? But thinking about it, Xiao Xiao must have imported it after she changed her phone. Lin Yi closed this wish and looked at the second day's wish. Compared to the first wish, the second one was more normal. I want a sports car. This was a wish he'd written 3 years ago as well, but there was a note at the end that said it had been fulfilled. He didn't have time to look at the ones he'd already fulfilled, so he quickly exited and started looking for the ones that hadn't been fulfilled yet. But in this document, most of the wishes were fulfilled. Lin Yi finally found one that wasn't marked fulfilled and opened it. I really want a best friend, I can talk to her about the loneliness in my heart. I can share my happiness and sadness with her on the same bed. But I'm destined to never have a true friend. I don't want my best friend to feel pain because of my death. Looking at Xiao Xiao's wish, Linny couldn't help but take in a deep breath. His heart was heavy. From the tone of this wish, Xiao Xiao must have known that her illness was incurable. That was why she was feeling this way. Perhaps she had lost all hope of curing her illness. She had a friend, a bosom friend. In the eyes of a normal girl, this seemed like a simple thing. Who didn't have a few true friends growing up? Which girl hadn't slept on the same bed with their best friend? But this simple thing was a dream in Xiao Xiao's eyes. And her kindness, not wanting her death to bring pain to her friends, touched Lin Yi deeply. But this wish wasn't something Lin Yi could fulfill. He couldn't be a best friend. He couldn't just castrate himself, could he? But he could suggest Tang Yun and Shu to be Xiao Xiao's best friends. It wasn't a bad choice. Lin Yi quickly took a picture of the wish with his phone, not daring to waste any more time as he opened the other wish that wasn't marked already fulfilled and started reading it. Chapter 1031. Chapter 1029. A shocking wishm. This was a wish that Lin Yi could consider helping Xiao Xiao. It wasn't too much to ask, and Lin Yi could do it too. It was only now that Lin Yi understood that Xiao Xiao wasn't a rebellious girl who liked racing. She had the dream of being a racer. Yes, everyone had a dream when they were young. But as they grew older, these dreams would slowly fade away. What was his dream back then? A farmer? A spring? A little field? Yes, Lin Yi's dream was very simple when he was with his old man. Lin Yi didn't think that he would become an assassin in the future, nor did he think about what kind of life he would have in the future. He thought that he would be the same as the other kids from the countryside, like Gooden, farming with him to support the family. But after Lin Yi grew up, he started doing all sorts of simple and complicated missions. Lin Yi didn't know what his dream was anymore. These days of wandering were his life, and when he was free, he would chat with Gooden in his old home. It was the most relaxing time of his life. As time went on, he grew up, and so did Gooden. His fate changed with his old man, and he was destined to never be a farmer, and Gooden's fate changed because of him as well. He was destined to never be a normal farmer. He had to be a farmer in his old home. Thinking of Gooden, Lin Yi started to miss him. He hadn't seen him in a while, and he wondered if he was done with the spring plowing. He should be done, right? He needed to find some time to call him and ask him to come to Songshan. And so, other than his childhood, Lin Yi's life right now was the most relaxing he'd ever had. He had food, he had beauties, and while it was dangerous, Lin Yi enjoyed it. But even so, Lin Yi still felt that his life was better than Xiao Xiao's. His life was uncertain, but he had a friend, Gooden. Gooden was a bit rash and reckless, but Lin Yi liked him. At the very least, he was a straightforward person. Whatever Lin Yi said to him, he would only chuckle and would never spread it out. So, Lin Yi didn't hide anything from Gooden, and Gooden was a loyal listener. Shaking his head, Lin Yi suddenly remembered that he didn't have much time left. Class had ended, and he was looking at Xiao Xiao's wish when he got distracted. Lin Yi didn't dare waste any time. He quickly took a photo of Xiao Xiao's wish and closed it to read the next one. I also want to be in a relationship and have a boyfriend who cares for me. I'm so envious of other people under the moonlight, but I can't hurt others. If I die, my lover will be sad. However, this wish was divided into two. The first was written 2 years ago, and below this wish, there was another annotation. But the date was the most recent. I've decided, I want to be in a relationship with Lin Yi, who told him to pee on me and set off firecrackers on my butt. I want revenge. I want him to fall in love with me, and then I'll die in front of him. Xiao Xiao, you have to work hard. Lin Yi sweated as he looked at the message. No way. He'd felt that something was wrong with Xiao Xiao before, going from hostility to liking him. Wasn't that a little too fast? He looked at the date. It was the day Xiao Xiao changed her attitude towards him. But there was another annotation below this one, and Lin Yi couldn't help but sigh. Is this what love feels like? It's so nice. I hope I can live forever. This comment was dated last night, and looking at it, Lin Yi's heart was heavy. The meaning of this comment was clear, and that was that Xiao Xiao's revenge mentality had changed. She wanted to live forever. What revenge was there to talk about? Linny smiled bitterly. It seemed that Xiao Xiao had made it real. But this was a wish that was being fulfilled, and it was almost done. Linny didn't need to worry about it anymore. No matter what Xiao Xiao's motive for liking him was, Linny could understand and tolerate it. Thinking about Xiao Xiao's background and personality, Linny didn't blame her for going too far back then. Think about it. If it were Yushu, she'd go crazy even if someone peed on her head, let alone set off firecrackers on her butt. Wouldn't she? Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, used a self-destructive strategy to get into a relationship with Lin Yi, wanting Lin Yi to lose her after falling in love with her. This wasn't revenge at all, but an indulgence for the last moments of her life. Lin Yi closed this wish and went on to the next one. I saw a TV show today. The main male and female characters were watching the sunrise together, cooking breakfast with seawater. It's so romantic. I want to eat poached eggs. Linny looked at Xiao Xiao's weird wish and couldn't help but find it funny. Poached eggs? Eating poached eggs while watching the sunrise? Why didn't it match? But since it was Xiao Xiao's wish, Linny still took a picture with his phone. After all, this wish was easier to fulfill. There wasn't much time left, and Lin Yi closed this wish and quickly read the next one. Su Shirhan is so pretty. If only I were a guy, I'd be able to push her down. Lin Yi opened Xiao Xiao's wish and was exhausted. Lin Yi didn't seem to be able to fulfill this wish. He couldn't just give her a sex change operation, could he? But that was only the first half of the sentence. There was more, and Lin Yi kept reading. I've decided. I'll give this difficult mission to my boyfriend, let him push her down, and then we'll do 3P. Ha ha ha. Xiao Xiao, you're a super genius. But it seems like a daydream? Lin Yi almost threw Xiao Xiao's phone away after reading the last half. Wasn't this too cruel? Lin Yi was getting more and more convinced that if Xiao Xiao hadn't died, she would have been able to play with Yushu for sure. From a certain perspective, the two had a lot in common, and their way of thinking was equally shocking. Chapter 1032. Wish Fulfilled. After reading this wish, Lin Yi closed it, and was about to read the other wishes when Lin Yi saw that the girls in his class were starting to enter the classroom. That Feng Xiao Xiao should be one step ahead and one step behind. Lin Yi quickly exited his phone and opened up the game. Xiao Xiao and Yushu walked into the classroom together, and the two were talking and joking, as if the conflict from before had disappeared. But it was obvious that the two weren't that close yet. It was impossible for them to become close in one day. Xiao Xiao walked over to Lin Yi and sat down. She saw Lin Yi playing with her phone, so she asked curiously, "What are you doing?" "Playing a game." Lin Yi acted like he just saw Xiao Xiao and put the phone on the table. "You're back?" "Yeah, I'm back." Xiao Xiao picked up the phone and looked at the game on the screen. "Do you still want to play?" "No." Lin Yi shook his head. "This phone isn't bad. I'll go buy one in a couple of days. Then you buy mine too. We'll be a couple's phone." Xiao Xiao closed the game on her phone and put it in her pocket, not even thinking that Lin Yi had already seen the wish in it. "Yeah." Lin Yi answered casually. Lin Yi's quick answer stunned Xiao Xiao. She didn't think that Lin Yi would agree to her suggestion so easily. If it were before, Lin Yi would have rejected her right away, right? "Then we'll go buy one after school?" Xiao Xiao asked excitedly. "We'll see." Lin Yi shook his head. "The phone shops are all closed after school. Let's wait until the weekend." "Sure." Xiao Xiao heard the first half of the sentence and thought that he was just brushing her off again, but the second half told her that it wasn't the case. She was happy once more. "Xiao Xiao, why do you always want to learn how to race with me?" Lin Yi brought the topic to Xiao Xiao's wish. Lin Yi used to think that Xiao Xiao was just messing around, ignoring the fact that it was her dream to be a racer. "Because I'm interested in cars. After watching Fast and Furious, I wanted to be a racer." Xiao Xiao didn't hide it and smiled. "But I know that's impossible. My skills are just SOSO. Who would let me race?" "Oh, I see." Lin Yi nodded. "I thought you were just messing around. If you really want to be a racer, I can teach you." "Really?" Xiao Xiao's eyes went wide. Happiness came too abruptly, and she wasn't prepared for it. Good things kept happening these 2 days, and Xiao Xiao didn't know how to react. She felt like she was dreaming. It was too surreal. Of course it's true. I never lied to you when I promised you something. Linny smiled. Ugh. Xiao Xiao was so excited she couldn't speak. But after the excitement passed, she sighed. Man, forget it. I don't think I'll learn it. You can't learn how to drive in a short time. You need constant training. I don't have that much patience. Xiao Xiao said that, but it was just an excuse. What she was really worried about was that she didn't know how much longer she could live. She only had a few months left in her life, and even if she went to learn how to drive, she wouldn't be able to do much. She might as well use this time to do something else. But Lin Yi understood the meaning behind Xiao Xiao's excuse. Xiao Xiao said she didn't have that much patience, but she didn't have that much time left. Lin Yi sighed in his heart, but didn't show anything on his face. Songshan should have those underground racetracks too, right? Have you been there? Of course I have. Of course I have. Xiao Xiao perked up at the mention of racing, as if she'd forgotten her sadness. It's on Mount Belong's Coiling Mountain Road. It's an underground racetrack, and there's a race every Friday night. People who love racing go there to practice too. Oh, have you participated in a race before? Linny asked with a smile. My skills aren't good. I can only practice. I won't be able to do it in a real race. Xiao Xiao shook her head. At most you'll lose, what else? Linny found it strange. At least you'll be able to participate in a race. It's an experience. It's not that simple. The loser has to pay the price. Xiao Xiao shook her head. The loser has to give the winner 200,000. Where would I get that much money? I'd be better off selling myself. Lin Yi clicked his tongue inwardly. As expected, there was some profit involved in this. There wouldn't be a race for no reason. 200,000 wasn't much to Lin Yi, but it was a lot to Xiao Xiao. If she had the money, she wouldn't have just bought an Audi TT. She'd have bought an Audi R8 or something. Then does it mean I get 200,000 if I win? Lin Yi asked. No, the winner only gets 150,000, and the other 50,000 goes to the organizer. Xiao Xiao said. Oh, this organization is quite profitable, Lin Yi said faintly, but this didn't have much to do with Lin Yi, so Lin Yi couldn't be bothered. Lingshan didn't even care, so why would Lin Yi care about some underground racetrack organizer? Yeah, there's at least 10 races a week. That's 500,000. You can even buy a car, Xiao Xiao said enviously. But winning 150 isn't bad either. We'll go racing on Friday and get a phone. Lin Yi smiled. What do you think? You? You want to go racing with me? Xiao Xiao's eyes went wide. Yeah, you don't want to go? Lin Yi asked. Yes. Xiao Xiao nodded, afraid that Lin Yi would change his mind. Really? That's great. Ha, I can go racing too. You want to drive? Lin Yi was speechless at Xiao Xiao's happy face. Lin Yi was the one driving in the racetrack, and Xiao Xiao would lose for sure. Yeah, I lose the moment I start. Xiao Xiao was a little depressed. Lin Yi looked at Xiao Xiao's face and made a decision in his heart. It was a risky decision, but it wasn't much to Lin Yi. It was something he could control. Chapter 1033. Who was Erguden? Looking at her beloved sports car, Xiao Xiao felt the urge to smash it. Sports car, it's not that I don't like you. It's just that I seem to like Linny more, Xiao Xiao grumbled as she got in the car and started the engine, but it wasn't easy to reverse the car. The area was filled with vendors selling snacks, and there were people coming and going after school. In the past, Xiao Xiao didn't even need to reverse her car. She could just turn around and leave. But today there was a Lamborghini next to her car, so she had no choice but to reverse. Linny frowned when he saw this. This Xie Yufeng was going to the doctor, but he didn't drive the car away. In truth, it wasn't that Yufeng didn't want to drive it away. It was because he couldn't. His butt was cut, and it would hurt even if he sat down, let alone drive. Yufeng, Songming, and Penghu called an ambulance right away, not even thinking about driving. I can't get it out. Linny, help me get the car out. Xiao Xiao wanted to say that she wouldn't drive home, but she couldn't bring herself to say it. Whose car is this? Why isn't it driving away? Tang Yun looked at the Lamborghini curiously as well. She didn't know what kind of car it was, but it shouldn't be cheap. Who would park their car here for so long and not drive away? That's Xie Yufeng from yesterday, Linny said. But the kid is unlucky today. Xiao Xiao and Shu messed with him. He probably can't drive anymore. He's in the hospital getting some medicine. Oh, what's going on? Tang Yun was curious and confused. Haha, Xiao Xiao, tell Yun Yun what happened. I'll help you get the car out. Linny said. All right. Xiao Xiao was more than happy to share this with Tang Yun too. She happily pulled Tang Yun's hand to talk. Compared to Yushu, Xiao Xiao's relationship with Tang Yun was a lot closer. The two had lunch together, and they were even more in sync now. In fact, this was because Xiao Xiao was trying to get to know Tang Yun, and Tang Yun was doing it on purpose. That was why their relationship improved so much. Linny walked over, but he didn't get in Xiao Xiao's car. Instead, he went to Yufeng's Lamborghini and raised his leg to kick it. Bang! A loud bang sounded, and the Lamborghini was kicked sideways by Lin Yi. But Lin Yi didn't stop there. He kicked it again, and the car moved sideways again. Lin Yi frowned and kept kicking, and soon, the brand-new Lamborghini was full of dents from Lin Yi's kicks, and the alarm went off. But the people on the food street all knew Lin Yi, and they knew how domineering Lin Yi was. No one tried to stop him, and some were even gloating. This stupid car owner was blocking Lin Yi's way. In the blink of an eye, the Lamborghini was kicked to the bottom of the wall by Lin Yi, and the driver's door was stuck to the wall as well. If he didn't climb over from the passenger seat, he wouldn't even be able to drive the car away. Xiao Xiao and Tang Yun were stunned as they looked at Lin Yi, but Lin Yi had done too many ruthless things. Lin Yi had torn down Zhao Qibing's skyscraper twice, let alone a car. Tang Yun was already used to it, but Xiao Xiao couldn't close her mouth. Damn, that's so cool. Xiao Xiao didn't expect Lin Yi to be this strong, sending the Lamborghini to the wall with just a few kicks. Yufeng would probably be crying tomorrow morning when he saw his new car in the corner of the wall. Riddled with scars, wouldn't he? It's done. Lin Yi walked back casually, as if he wasn't the one who kicked the car. He walked to Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao. Let's go. Xiao Xiao told Tang Yun about Yufeng's tragic experience, and Tang Yun started to sympathize with the guy. He was beaten up by gangsters yesterday, and today he was sitting on a nail shoe. Not only that, but his new car was destroyed by Lin Yi. Why was this guy so unlucky? Did he have to go to the West to seek scriptures and come here to suffer? Xiao Xiao didn't want to leave, but she didn't want to make it too obvious. Since Lin Yi had cleared the obstacles around her car, she could drive it out smoothly. The Volkswagen Beetle and Audi TT left the food street behind the school. Lin Yi sent Tang Yun to the hospital and parted ways with Xiao Xiao at the intersection ahead. How's the renovations going? When can we move in? Lin Yi asked as he drove. Mom went to check yesterday, and she said it's almost done. We're just missing the furniture and appliances. We'll be able to move in after a couple of days. Tang Yun said. The new house smells. Fatty Lai used environmentally friendly materials, but it's impossible for there to be no harmful gases. You should get Ani to buy some charcoal and sprinkle it around. Don't worry about money. Lin Yi nodded. Yeah, I know. Tang Yun obviously knew what kind of person her mother was. She couldn't help but laugh at Lin Yi's words. I really need to talk to her about it. Tell her not to be greedy. Just say that the smell of the renovations affects fertility. If you can't have a baby after smelling it, I won't want you anymore. Lin Yi said to Tang Yun. Huh. Tang Yun blinked and blushed. What kind of lousy reason is that? Lousy reason. But it'll definitely work. Lin Yi smiled. Tang Yun nodded. She had to admit that Lin Yi's method was effective. This was related to her health and the future baby's health. No matter how stingy a mother was, she couldn't risk her own life. Then, if I really can't have a baby, will you still want me? Tang Yun suddenly thought of something. What if there really was something wrong with her body? She had never had a baby before. Who knew if she could have a baby? Huh. I can cure it. Lin Yi smiled. Tang Yun was a little disappointed. She actually wanted to hear him say that he wanted it, not that he could cure it. The results were the same, but Tang Yun was a girl after all, and sometimes she liked to hear romantic words. Lin Yi drove Tang Yun back to the hospital and drove home. He called Widow Wang's grocery store in the village. However, the phone rang a few times and no one picked up. Just as Lin Yi was about to hang up, someone picked up. It wasn't Widow Wang's voice. It was a man's voice. Hello? West Star Mountain Village. Which one are you looking for? Hello, can you help me find Ergooden? Linny didn't know who this person was. He said politely, Ergooden? Who is it? The person froze. Chapter 1034. Hercules Ergooden Ugh. Linny paused, but he remembered that Ergooden was just a nickname. Ergooden's real name wasn't Ergooden, so people who weren't familiar with him wouldn't know. But everyone in Star West Village should know this name. But Linny still said, it's Zhou. Zhou was Ergooden's real name. Of course, in the village, people called people by their nicknames. Very few people called people by their real names. This was different from the city. Zhou? The man on the other side of the line paused, but he still said, wait, I'll ask for you. Auntie, someone's looking for Zhou. Do you know him? I know. Okay, go set up the goods. I'll take the call. Widow Wang's voice came from the other side of the phone. After a while, Widow Wang picked up the phone. You're looking for Ergooden? Auntie Wang, it's me, Lily. Linny smiled. Who was that? It's my relative's child, from another village. He came here to help me with the work. Isn't the spring plowing over? When the villagers are free, they often come here to drink. I can't do it alone. Widow Wang said. I see. No wonder he doesn't know Ergooden. Linny understood. In Star West Village, there were a lot of people who didn't know Lin Yi, but there were very few who didn't know Ergooden. Haha, wait here. I'll get Ergooden to answer the phone for you. Widow Wang put the phone aside and went to the village's megaphone to shout, Ergooden, 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 I'm your Auntie Wang. There's a call for you. Widow Wang's voice came from the loudspeaker, shocking Lin Yi on the other side of the phone. Gooden was hunting in the mountains. He just finished dinner and went to the mountains to stretch his body. He didn't expect to hear the village's loudspeaker calling for him. Gooden guessed that the call was from his boss, Lin Yi. He didn't waste time, picking up the dead boar and running down the mountain. This wild boar was at least 300 to 400 kilograms, but Gooden didn't seem to be using any strength at all. He was running like he was flying, as if he was carrying no weight at all. At the foot of the mountain was West Star Village. Almost all the villagers were outside, playing cards and chess. They didn't seem surprised at all when they saw Gooden running down the mountain with the bear on his shoulder. Gooden, you went hunting again? This wild boar can be sold for a good price, right? An old man said enviously. Heh, it's all right. Gooden smiled honestly. Gooden, when are you going to get the robes you promised Master Wang? A village woman asked. Her husband sold wild animals, and he often caught wild chickens and robes to sell in the market. He used to catch them with traps, but Gooden patted his chest and bought them, saying that he'd help whenever he needed the robes. Auntie Chong, I'm in a hurry to answer the phone today. I'll get the robes for you tomorrow. Gooden nodded. This Gooden was a legend in the village. When he was 8, he went hunting alone in the mountains. The first day he came back, the villagers saw a black bear coming down the mountain and walking into the village, scaring them to death. They shouted, "The bear is in the village," and all went back to their homes. But when the black bear walked into the village, everyone realized that under the bear's huge body, there was a small, skinny figure. It was Gooden, who came back from hunting. But compared to the black bear's body, Gooden's body was insignificant. They were far away, and it was dark, so the villagers couldn't see Gooden clearly. It was only when they got closer that they realized that the black bear had been killed by Gooden. This shocked the villagers, and they couldn't help but praise Gooden's godly strength. But everything had a freshness, and once the freshness wore off, they wouldn't be surprised anymore. It was the same with Gooden. From then on, he killed wild wolves, wild boars, vultures, and other wild beasts. Everyone was used to it now. Gooden threw the wild boar on the ground. Everyone, split it. If we can't finish it, we'll give the rest to my dad to sell. Gooden was a simple and honest man. He wouldn't keep things to himself. Every time he went hunting, he would think of the villagers and give them something for free. So, everyone had a good impression of him. In fact, everyone was drooling over the wild boar meat. Normal people couldn't kill a wild boar. There was a saying, 1 boar, 2 bears, 3 tigers. It meant that the wild boar was stronger than a bear or a tiger. Only Gooden could kill a wild boar so easily. If it was someone else, they might have been killed by the boar. After saying that, he quickly ran to Widow Wang's house, and the rest of the villagers happily helped him clean up the wild boar. Of course, they weren't greedy people. They would get some of the meat, but it was the parts that weren't easy to sell. The parts that were easy to sell, like the pork knuckle, they would leave them for Gooden. Gooden excitedly ran into the shop and picked up the phone. Hello? Gooden. It's me, Linny. Linny heard Gooden's voice and smiled. Linny bro, I knew it was you. Are you in a hurry? I'll leave in 2 days. Gooden said embarrassedly. It's still far from the autumn harvest, and the family doesn't have much income. I'm thinking of hunting some wild animals for my dad to sell before I leave. Otherwise the family won't have any income. Didn't I tell you to get it from my old man? Linny didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You can pay for the road. I'm thinking I'll earn the money for the house. I have hands and feet. Hunting isn't a problem. Gooden said with an honest smile. All right, come back as soon as you're done. I really miss you. Linny sighed. I really want you to stay in Songsan forever. I want to follow you, boss, to explore the world. But I can't. Gooden frowned and said helplessly, I can't leave home for too long. That's right. Apart from that spiritual spring, there's really no other alternative solution. Linny sighed. But it's fine. You just have to come out once in a while. Chapter 1035. Chapter 1033. Being Xiao Xiao's best friend. All right. Write down my phone number and address. Contact me when you get to Songsan. I'll pick you up, Linny said as he gave Gooden his phone number and address. Gooden found a piece of paper and wrote it down before putting it in his pocket. After the call with Gooden, Linny got home. The Miss and Shu were still watching TV on the sofa. Shield bro, I did well today, didn't I? Yushu said excitedly when she saw Lin Yi. Xiao Xiao and I became best friends. Yeah, but we need to keep working hard and try to improve. Linny nodded. Improve? Yushu asked. Yeah, it'd be best if we could become best friends, just like you and Yao Yao, Linny said. Best friend? That's not possible, right? She's my love rival. Yushu scratched her head, troubled. Linny didn't say anything. He took out his phone and opened the photo album, showing Xiao Xiao's wishes to Yushu. Xiao Xiao has a few wishes, and she doesn't have much time left, so I want to help her fulfill them one by one. Oh? Yushu paused and took the phone. She read the words on the photo. I really want to have a best friend. I can talk to her about the loneliness in my heart. I can share happiness and sadness with her on the same bed. But I'm destined to never have a true friend. I don't want my best friend to feel pain because of my death. Meng Yao came over curiously as well, frowning as she looked at the photo on Lin Yi's phone. Linny, where did you see this? From Xiao Xiao's phone. Linny didn't hide it. There's a file called My Wish. I just opened it. I didn't think. I see. Meng Yao nodded. Xiao Xiao's wish moved Meng Yao. Having a best friend was a normal thing, but in Xiao Xiao's eyes, it was an extravagant wish. Especially Xiao Xiao's reason, it made Meng Yao feel even more bitter. What a great spirit it is to not let a good friend be sad. Shu, we want to be Xiao Xiao's best friends. Meng Yao raised her fist and said word by word. Oh, okay. Yushu nodded after seeing that Meng Yao had agreed. To tell the truth, most of what she did today was to coax Xiao Xiao, but being a BFF wasn't as simple as that. If she didn't open her heart to Xiao Xiao, then she wouldn't be a BFF at all. Xiao Xiao only wanted to be Lin Yi's small wife, and she wasn't a threat to her position at all. Plus, she was about to die, so Yushu didn't think much of it. The two came to an agreement, and the matter was settled for now. But Yushu suddenly realized that the picture wasn't the last one, so she kept scrolling. Linny wanted to stop her, but it was too late. Yushu's hands were faster, and she was already scrolling. If Linny were to take the phone back now, it would mean that something was wrong. Linny couldn't help but regret taking a picture of that threesome wish. Yushu and Meng Yao read Xiao Xiao's other wishes, but they weren't really interested in things like racing or watching the sunrise. It had nothing to do with them, but when they saw Xiao Xiao's threesome, their eyes went wide, their mouths wide open. I've decided. I'll give this difficult mission to my boyfriend, let him push her down, and then we'll have threesome. Ha ha ha. Xiao Xiao, you're a super genius. But it seems like a daydream? Yushu and Mingyao couldn't help but look at each other after reading the content on the phone. After a long while, Yushu sighed. Holy shit, this Xiao Xiao is even stronger than me? She wants to do threesome with a superstar? I just want to do it with Yao Yao. Shu, what the hell are you talking about? Mingyao glared at Yushu, suddenly feeling a sense of regret. One Shu was enough to give her a headache, and she actually agreed to be Xiao Xiao's best friend? Xiao Xiao was someone similar to Shu, and if she were to become her best friend, wouldn't she be breaking down all day long? After the two of them got together, wouldn't the already shocking idea become even more shocking? This Xiao Xiao wanted to do threesomes, and with just a discussion with Yushu, they'd be able to do 4 or 5. Hee hee, but that's a good wish. Su Shirhan is Yao Yao's and my idol, too. Shield bro, you need to work hard. Yushu waved her phone at Linny. I don't mind doing threesomes with a superstar. 4, 5 with Yao Yao. Linny held his forehead, speechless. His heart was exploding. This sounded exciting, but Linny just couldn't believe it. Mingyao slapped her forehead as well, almost fainting from the shock. What was she supposed to do now that Yushu had said it out loud? What was she supposed to do? What was she supposed to do in the future? I'll go check on Faubert. Linny took the phone back from Yushu and walked to Faubert's room. I'll go wash up and sleep, Mingyao said, defeated. I'll go too, Yushu said happily, following Mingyao like a shadow. Linny walked to Faubert's room. The door wasn't locked, so he pushed it open and walked in. Faubert was practicing on his bed when he felt Linny walk in. He opened his eyes slowly. You're back? Evidently, he didn't hear the conversation between Linny and Mingyao in the living room. He could only sense movements within a certain range. Yeah, how is it, Faubert? Linny nodded. I've already started training my family's martial arts again. Golden class late phase peak. This is a good starting point. I'm already satisfied. Uncle Fu said this from the bottom of his heart. He didn't seem to be forcing it at all. Faubert, I want to try again, Linny said, unwilling to give up. What he didn't understand was that since Uncle Fu could absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth, why couldn't he absorb the universal energy in the space of the jade pendant? Chapter 1036. A strange case. Linny didn't say much and walked in front of Faubert. He placed both of his hands on Faubert's meridians and activated the art of dragon mastery. Uncle Fu also cooperated and began to circulate his family's incantation. 10 minutes later, Linny gave up decisively. There was no effect at all. The situation was the same as before. Linny couldn't give his energy to Faubert, and Faubert wouldn't absorb the energy Linny gave him. It seemed like it was like what Jiao Lao said. There was a limit to the level of this energy transfer. He could only transfer energy to practitioners who were of a lower level than him, and the peak of the lower level was the final bottleneck. In other words, as long as he didn't reach Earth class, he wouldn't be able to make Faubert and General Weiwu into Mystic class. At first, Linny thought that his ability to mass-produce masters was already very powerful, but now it seemed like it was useless. Although he could create golden-class masters were still a rare existence in the secular world, and they were extremely rare. A golden-class master was already very powerful, but the problem was that the enemies and pressure Linny was facing now didn't come from the common world, but from the noble houses of a higher level. In these noble houses, golden-class masters were very common. Most of them were mystic-class masters, and there were even some earth-class masters. In front of these people, the two golden-class masters, Faubert and General Weiwu, were useless. Linny had to rely on his own strength to face them. Forget it, it was better than nothing. Linny sighed. Some people wanted golden-class masters, but didn't have them. He could mass-produce them now. With that thought, Linny gave up on the idea of creating Faubert and returned to his room. On the surface, Songshan was quite safe these days. The thief organization was gone, and the kidney trafficking organization was destroyed. The evil forces led by Tsihua had also laid low, and they didn't make any big moves. Logically speaking, Lingshan should be happy in this kind of peaceful atmosphere, and in fact, the leader did praise Lingshan a few times. Ever since she became the captain, Songshan's security had improved a lot, and Ling Shan had been solving big cases time and time again. She was the fastest person in Songshan's history to solve a case. Ling Shan, on the other hand, was a little uneasy. In many cases, there was a bigger conspiracy behind the calm. After all, there had been a couple of missing persons cases in Songshan recently. They looked like normal cases, but Ling Shan felt that things weren't that simple. Wang Lai used to be a migrant worker. 3 days ago, he had a conflict with the labor contractor because of a wage issue. After beating up the labor contractor, he disappeared. According to the information, Wang Lai was a very strong migrant worker. He had a lot of strength, and it was easy for him to beat up the labor contractor and his bodyguards. The labor contractor didn't even report it to the police. It was a street vendor selling snacks near the construction site who saw the fight and called the police. Wang Lai's disappearance made everyone think that he ran away. The police who went to investigate the case, naturally, wouldn't interfere. After all, the labor contractor said that it was fine, and he didn't want to pursue the matter. This could be seen as a normal civil dispute. If the victim's family didn't want to pursue the matter, why would they? Besides, the labor contractor wasn't hurt, not even a light injury. Therefore, the police simply recorded it down and left. If it weren't for the fact that something similar had happened recently, this seemingly random case wouldn't have caught Ling Shan's attention. Now that the case was in front of Ling Shan's desk once more, she frowned at the unusualness of it. Although Wang Lai injured the labor contractor before, the labor contractor did not suffer much damage. There were just some bruises on his body and some scratches on his face. The same was true for the bodyguards. They did not even have any broken bones. Under these circumstances, was there a need for Wang Lai to run away? Even the police didn't want to arrest him. Why would he run? From the labor contractor's words, it was obvious that he was unlucky. Wang Lai could have found out about these things by asking around, but Wang Lai disappeared. The second case was similar to this one. Sun Kaoli was a stevedore for a freight company. When he was working, he accidentally broke a piece of glassware. His boss didn't say anything. He didn't even mention deducting his salary. Yet, Sun Kaoli disappeared. Why the hell was Sun Kaoli running? When Sun Kaoli disappeared, the boss felt that something was wrong and called the police. But after calling the police, they realized that nothing was missing from the company, and the reason for Sun Kaoli's escape was something they had to think about. Of course, this wasn't much. If these two missing cases were coincidental, then what about today's case? Yang Maolin was a small gangster, bullying people around the market. Today, when he was collecting protection money, he bumped into someone who was serious, and so he used the scale plate on the side to smack the guy's face into a pulp. After washing away the blood, it was just a nose bleeding. It wasn't a big deal at all. Everyone thought that this was over, and the guy who got beaten up would obediently hand over protection money the next day. It wasn't like Yang Maolin hadn't beaten up merchants before. There were a lot more serious cases, but it wasn't a big deal. But the guy who got beaten up wasn't happy and called the police. The police came to mediate the situation. After all, Yang Maolin was the manager of this farmer's market, and he was collecting money for benefits. It could be seen as a commercial action of a mall, collecting rent. It was a little more than usual, but the guy didn't have to come at all. Even if they were to argue about it, they wouldn't be able to come out with a good reason. The market was private, and it was normal for Yang Maolin to collect fees. You didn't pay up, so you got punched. It was a normal civil dispute. But the weird thing was that Yang Maolin disappeared after he beat up the guy. Never seen again. It looked like he was afraid that something would happen to the guy, and so he ran away, but in reality, the guy who got beaten up wasn't a problem at all. If these three incidents were to be singled out, they could all be regarded as coincidences. But when the three incidents were put together, it was somewhat unusual. Chapter 1037. Chapter 1035. Miss Yuling Shan felt like there was a problem here, but she couldn't put her finger on it. Why did these people run away? Where did they go? What was their purpose? This series of questions gave Ling Shan a headache. On the surface, nothing had happened yet, and Ling Shan's actions made it seem like she was making a fuss over nothing. But Ling Shan was a person who hated evil. Things that didn't make sense to her would always be suspicious of them. Pho. Ling Shan put the file aside and rubbed her temples. It seemed like being a leader wasn't that easy after all. It was much easier being a soldier. She had to worry about all these things, and she didn't want anything to happen to the peaceful Songshan. She hoped that she was just being too sensitive, and that it was just a coincidence. Who knew what Linny was doing? Linny had lost contact with Lingshan recently, and Lingshan wanted to call him to ask about Lin Yi's whereabouts, but she didn't have a good reason to do so. She'd always asked Linny to help her solve cases, but now that she didn't have an excuse, she didn't know what to say. Lingshan knew about the things that happened in Songshan a couple of days. With her position, it was only natural that she knew everything that happened in Songshan. House Yu, Xiao family, and the hidden house Zhao all went to Pingzhan's house to force him to abdicate. Lingshan knew about all of this, but she couldn't do anything about it. She came from a noble house, and she knew that when it came to noble houses, the rules and methods of the common world didn't have much of an effect on them. Lingshan really wanted to help, but thinking that she was a golden class late phase, she knew that she wouldn't be able to do anything. She'd just be a burden, and so she gave up on that idea. But hearing that Lin Yi had lost all his strength and was forced into a corner, Lingshan was still a little worried. She didn't know why, but she had this inexplicable feeling towards Lin Yi. Lin Yi was the first man who dared to act arrogantly in front of her, and all the other noble house's disciples always praised her, but Lin Yi called her Miss Brain Dead. This made her angry, but at the same time, she felt a strange feeling in her heart. She was angry, but she couldn't fight back, and she didn't dare to. She could only accept it, and slowly, she started to like this feeling of being conquered. Sometimes, she even thought that she was a bit of a masochist. But she shook her head. She did want to fight back, didn't she? However, there was no way to resist, so he could only compromise. It was just a habit that had become second nature. Lingshan couldn't stay calm at the thought of Lin Yi. She hurriedly tidied up the documents on her desk and glanced at the clock on the wall. It was already past 9. Lingshan was single, and because of her profession, she would sleep in the resting room when she worked late. She washed her face, brushed her teeth, and laid on the bed. She wanted to call Lin Yi, but she couldn't fall asleep. She washed her face and brushed her teeth before lying on the bed. She wanted to give Lin Yi a call, but couldn't fall asleep after tossing and turning. She looked at the time. It was already 10, and she was afraid that Lin Yi would fall asleep. But, for some reason, she still picked up her phone and called Lin Yi. Lin Yi, naturally, wasn't sleeping. He had just returned from Faubert's place and was taking a shower when Lingshan's call came in. "Hello?" Lin Yi picked up. "It's me," Lingshan said carefully, a little hesitant. "Oh, what's up?" Lin Yi asked. Lingshan usually didn't call him for anything good. Either she couldn't catch the bad guys, or she had some trouble that she needed his help with. And nothing. Lingshan was a little awkward. She didn't know what she was thinking, but she didn't know what to say when the call went through to Lin Yi. "Nothing? Why would you call me then?" Lin Yi was confused. As far as he was concerned, Lingshan would always call him for trouble, but Lin Yi had always helped as much as he could. Lingshan's hesitation made Lin Yi think that something big had happened. So he said, "Is there something troublesome that you need my help with?" And nothing. Lingshan had been very bold these past few days, but it was only temporary. It had been a few days since she contacted Lin Yi, and she found it hard to talk about it. "Then I'll hang up?" Lin Yi didn't know what was going on. "If you have something to say, just say it. Why did you call me?" "Don't hang up." Lingshan hesitated, but seeing that Lin Yi was about to hang up, she got bolder. She was already prepared to give up, so she didn't care anymore. I miss you." "Wha?" Lin Yi paused. "What did you say?" Miss Dumb misses you." Lingshan didn't hold back anymore and said it boldly. Lin Yi frowned. He didn't have much of a good impression of Lingshan. He admired her, but it was only because of her body. As for her personality, Lin Yi didn't really like it. Although Lingshan had changed a lot recently, Lin Yi didn't think of it as a relationship at all. As far as he was concerned, he and Lingshan weren't the same kind of people, and Lingshan would never understand his life. So, Lin Yi purposely kept a certain distance from Lingshan. This was also the reason why Lin Yi didn't go any further when he saw Lingshan's naked body in the basement of Jiangwen's kidney trafficking organization. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't moved. Lin Yi was a normal man, but Lin Yi had better self-control. If he only relied on impulse to do things, then Lin Yi wouldn't be able to live until now. Now, Ling Shan's hints were a little obvious, and it gave Lin Yi a headache. He decided to find a chance to have a good talk with Ling Shan. Lin Yi didn't think that Ling Shan really fell in love with him. With Ling Shan's strong personality, Lin Yi could guess the reason why she would have feelings for him. Chen Yutian and the other pursuers were all obedient to Ling Shan, but Lin Yi was someone who did the opposite. This made Ling Shan feel fresh. Chapter 1038. Help me level up. But none of this was the reason why Ling Shan fell in love with Lin Yi. The time they spent together was limited, and Lin Yi hadn't even spent as much time with Ling Shan as Xiao Xiao did. How could she have feelings for him? If she were to talk about feelings, it was all because of the chaotic scene in the basement. Maybe things wouldn't be like this anymore once she thought it through. And so, Lin Yi said to Ling Shan, "You miss me?" "Yeah." Ling Shan nodded without hesitation. "What do you miss?" Lin Yi asked. I want you to help me level up." Ling Shan blushed. If someone else said this, it would be a very normal thing to say. For example, when Faubert told Lin Yi to help him level up, it wouldn't be a big deal. He was just asking Lin Yi to use his energy to help him level up. In fact, Lin Yi had been helping Faubert level up for the past few days. But Ling Shan asking Lin Yi to help her level up was a little ambiguous. How and under what circumstances did Ling Shan break through last time? Both Lin Yi and Ling Shan knew it very well. This kind of breakthrough method gave Lin Yi a headache. Lin Yi was Ling Shan's fantasy partner, and he broke through just like that. It was a little unbelievable, but it really happened. Of course, Lin Yi didn't think that was the reason for the breakthrough. It was just a trigger. If that was the case, Ling Shan would have reached Sky Class a long time ago. So this method wasn't going to work. Ling Shan was already at the point of breakthrough, and that thing was just a trigger. Of course, Lin Yi didn't delve too deeply into it. This wasn't something he could understand. Every family's practice was different, and Lin Yi didn't have the time to study it. "All right, when can I help you level up?" Lin Yi hesitated before agreeing. Ugh. Ling Shan was taken aback by Lin Yi's straightforwardness. Lin Yi agreed just like that? No hesitation at all? What's wrong? Lin Yi asked when Ling Shan didn't say anything. "No, but this weekend, you'll come to my house?" Ling Shan said excitedly. "Sure." Lin Yi nodded. "Then I'll be waiting." Ling Shan's heart was pounding furiously. She was really happy that Lin Yi had agreed. Ling Shan's breathing quickened as she held the phone in her hand. She suddenly felt hot all over, remembering the special feeling she had in the basement that day. Ling Shan couldn't help but reach her hand into the blanket. After hanging up, Lin Yi didn't think too much about it and went straight into practicing mode. The situation wasn't looking good right now. House Yu and House Xiao had temporarily quieted down, but who knew if there would be any bigger movements after that? So Lin Yi couldn't slack off for even a second. He had to train hard and break through as soon as possible. Only when he had enough strength would he be able to intimidate these noble houses. That night, Lin Yi would spend his time training. That night, Faubert would spend his time training as well. That night, the Miss and Shu slowly fell asleep as they whispered to each other. They were talking about Xiao Xiao, their best friend life. There was something they needed to discuss about suddenly accepting a third person into their life. Tang Yun, on the other hand, had a good night's sleep. She was very happy. She was going to move into her new house in 2 days, and her mother was going to buy some charcoal buns. That night, Xiao Xiao had another sleepless night. She was thinking about the future. This was the first time she was thinking about the future of her life and Lin Yi's future. She was a little lost, and she wanted to retreat a little. That night, Ling Shan fell asleep in a daze of excitement. Outside the window, it was raining, and in her dreams, Ling Shan was listening to the wind and the rain, while Lin Yi was in his pajamas, dreaming. The rainy night in Songshan was very quiet. The homeless and beggars on the streets were all hiding, and most of the restaurants and shops had closed early. There weren't many customers in a rainy day, but there was one place that was packed with people. Even though it was raining outside, it was still very noisy. This was Jiangwen's underground fighting arena. Maolin looked at the opponent who had won 2 matches in a row and frowned. Why was this guy so strong? Previously, when he was approached by someone, He only said that he would be able to get 100,000 yuan commission by participating in an underground boxing match. That was 100,000, no matter if he won or lost. Maolin's heart was moved. He was originally a small hooligan in the market. He relied on his ability to take bribes and bully the vendors to earn some money. At most, he would earn 2 to 3,000 yuan a month. Now that he was offered 100,000 yuan, he couldn't help but gladly accept it. As for why he made it look like he was running away, it was Scorpion who told him to do that. The reason was simple. Scorpion told him that no matter if he won or lost, he would get 100,000. But if he won, he would get another 300,000. If you kill the other party's 100,000 yuan will be given to you, and you will get 500,000 yuan. But if he killed someone, he would have to run, right? If you disappeared inexplicably, others would definitely suspect you. However, if you absconded because of some small matters, others would naturally ignore you. Small issues wouldn't make him a wanted criminal, so Maolin thought about it and agreed. He was a big guy, and he came from a gangster background. Getting into fights was a common occurrence. If he really killed the opponent accidentally, it wouldn't be too hard. Plus, he heard that he would get another 300,000 if he won, and Maolin knew that this match would be a life and death kind of fight. If he really didn't have the last bit of strength left, who would be willing to let the 300,000 slip away? So, in order to win, he had to beat the opponent to death. That was the only way he could win for sure. He could also get his opponent's 100,000. Maolin was a gangster in the first place, and he didn't really care about human lives, especially in an underground arena like this. If he really did kill someone, the boss wouldn't want things to get out of hand. He'd just walk away, and after a few years, he'd have nothing to do with it. But Maolin's idea was good, but the reality was cruel. Chapter 1039. The underground arena. Although he was a hooligan and fighting was a common occurrence, the short, brawny man on the stage was indeed very skilled. If Maolin's judgment was correct, this man was an underground fighter who made a living by fighting underground fighters. His attacks were sharp and ruthless, all of them killing moves. This was a world of difference from Maolin's usual fighting style. No matter how good Maolin was at fighting, that was just fighting, beating people up until they hurt them. This short man, on the other hand, was beating people to death. Every punch was aimed at the opponent's vitals, either the head or the chest, and every move was fatal. Maolin's forehead was sweating profusely as he watched the short man's opponent get beaten senseless, getting dragged off the stage like a dead dog. He regretted it. He really regretted it. He shouldn't have believed Scorpion's words. He shouldn't have had this unrealistic dream of getting rich. Finally, the short, brawny man made his move again. With a bang, he punched his opponent's temple. Suddenly, his opponent's temple caved in, and then suddenly swelled up, turning into a huge, tumor-like bump. His opponent, who was as strong as a bear, twitched twice and fell to the ground with a loud bang, without the slightest bit of sloppiness. The short man won again. He raised his hands, accepting the cheers of victory from the audience. 2 fights, and he'd earned 1,000,000. After the third fight, he'd be able to earn 1,500,000 today. This was the highest amount he'd ever earned in his underground fighting career. Otherwise, the short man wouldn't have come all the way from Thailand to Songshan. He was a Muay Thai master and used to be a professional athlete, but he'd been focusing on underground fights ever since he retired. Many retired boxers became weaker and weaker, but the short man was different. His current strength was even greater than his peak strength as a regular athlete. Especially after learning some killer moves from a third-rate assassin, he became even more powerful. Of course, that wasn't all. The reason why he was so powerful was because he had embarked on the path of a cultivator. He was a physical cultivator, and he was about to reach the golden rank. That was why his strength was so tyrannical. Scorpion bro, I don't want to compete anymore. Maolin was sweating as he watched the stream. He loved money, but he didn't want to die. The life and death agreement has been signed. You only have one choice, and that is to fight. Scorpion said coldly, I just won't participate. What can you do to me? Life and death agreement? Don't think that I'm just a hooligan. This kind of thing is not valid in the law. If you want me to fight him, I'll die if I go up. In order to survive, Maolin didn't care if he fell out with Scorpion, even though he knew that there had to be a huge power behind this arena. Oh? Scorpion smiled coldly as he pointed his gun at Maolin. Then you can die now. Ga. Maolin froze as a gun was pointed at his head. He started shaking. You guys. You can live if you participate in the competition, and you can even get the prize money. Scorpion himphed. If you don't participate, you won't get a single cent. Die now. Maolin was stunned. He was just a low-level hooligan. He'd never seen a gun before. Being pointed at with a gun made him shiver all over. He didn't doubt that Scorpion would kill him. After all, he'd seen the short man kill 2 people with his own eyes. This meant that they weren't afraid of dying here, and so he knelt down. And so Maolin gave in. Kneeling on the ground, Scorpion bro, I really don't want to die. Please, I don't want to die. I haven't lived enough. Don't want to die? Scorpion sighed and put on an act. Then wait, I'll go ask the boss. Okay. Maolin didn't dare hesitate. He nodded quickly. Scorpion actually just went to the entrance for a bit, and then came back. There was no need to discuss this at all. It was all planned. The live broadcast was also for Maolin to see, to scare him and make him take the bait. Otherwise, if Maolin really wanted to get killed on stage, he wouldn't have needed to watch this at all. He could have just gotten him ready to go on stage. The boss said that he can guarantee your victory, but the 500,000 you deserve, he can only give you 300,000. Do you have any objections? Scorpion came back to the room and asked. Yes. Maolin heard that not only could he guarantee his victory, but he could also get 300,000. This was great news. His bottom line was to stay alive, and as far as he was concerned, he didn't need to pay anything. This 300,000 was an unexpected windfall. Before you go on stage, I will inject you with a drug. This drug is similar to the energy pill from before. It will allow you to have superhuman strength for 30 minutes, Scorpion said, but you must kill your opponent within 30 minutes. Otherwise, you'll have no choice but to resign yourself to fate. Is the strength pill really that useful? Maolin didn't really believe it. He was afraid that Scorpion was lying to trick him into fighting. Why would I lie to you? This medicine is quite expensive. If the boss didn't think that the short brute won 2 rounds in a row and lost control of the bets for the 3rd round, the boss would lose a lot of money if he won again. Do you think he would give you such an expensive medicine? Little Scorpion snorted. After deducting your 200,000, it's not even enough to pay for this medicine. I see. Hehe, I got it. Maolin heard Scorpion's explanation and was instantly filled with confidence. Scorpion was right. Other than the matches, the boss would also bet on the fights, and now that the short man had won 2 matches in a row, the bets for the 3rd match would reach a new height. No one would bet on a dark horse like Maolin. They'd all bet on the short man. In that case, if the short man won again, the owner of the underground boxing arena would suffer a huge loss. With that thought, Maolin became more alert. He decided that after this fight, he'd take the money and leave. He'd never participate in this kind of competition again, not even if he had the pill of vigor. Otherwise, the more he won, the more bets he had on him, the more the boss would find a way to kill him. The 3rd match started, and Maolin, injected with the strength pill, was sent to the stage. His opponent was still the short man from before. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.